Well, good evening, everybody. It's the Cryptid Huntress. I hope you guys had a wonderful Christmas. I know I am plumb tired. Not dreaming of sugar plum fairies. I'm just plumb tired. Okay, but we had a great Christmas over here, and I hope you guys did too. Santa Claus did come to our house. My son was on the nice list this year. Thank goodness. Thank goodness. And I hope you guys were all on the nice list yourselves as well. And over here, I know it gets naughty over here on the Cryptid Hunters channel sometimes. And tonight is no different. We are going to have a fantastic show for you guys. I have Barry Littleton here in the studio tonight. He gave me 4 different targets this week, and we are going to be discussing all 4 of these targets. They're actually different aspects of the same target. And we went very much into depth on the Moai. And these are those big statues out of Easter Island. And some people say that they have walked by themselves before. Okay. And I don't know. I was thinking after I did this target, I was like, wonder if these can be related to petrified giants too. Y'all, I'm going to tell y'all the data is phenomenal for this target. And so you guys, please stay tuned. Don't go anywhere. We have a lot to discuss, a lot to unpack tonight. And like I said, I did 4 separate targets for this. And so we hit these from every angle. Barry says no one has done this before. So this is a world exclusive. Not to our knowledge, at least. We don't think anyone else has remote viewed these before and at least put it out publicly. So let's do this, y'all. If you guys would like to follow along with all of my shows and check out my archives, I forgot to put up my ticker. Please go to my website. That's thecryptidhuntress.com. You can find all of my shows there, my calendar of events. I do have a couple of big events coming up in the next couple of weeks, 2 to 3 weeks. I have the East Alabama Bigfoot Town Hall. So if you guys happen to be in Alabama, Georgia, or Florida, please come and hang out with us. That's going to be a great event put on by Squatch Seekers of the South. And you'll recognize some of those faces on there. I think tickets are $10, but it's well worth it. You guys come see me. It's January the 18th in Opelika, Alabama. Also, I'm going to be at the Blue Ridge, or I think it's the Georgia UFO Conference. That's the weekend before, January 11th, at the Fannin County Food Bank in Fannin County. That's directly south of Chattanooga, Tennessee. So it's in the Blue Ridge Mountains right there. We're going to be talking about UFOs, and that's the heart of Bigfoot country as well. So y'all come see me at that too. And all the other events I'll be at are on my website. So thank you guys for all the support. I love it. I always meet people who watch my shows every time I do a public event. You guys are the best. Some of y'all had traveled from far and wide to come hang out. And so I'm super grateful for that. And it's such a blessing. Okay, all of my remote viewing data is on my Patreon. If you guys would like to become a member of my Patreon, you have access to all the raw remote viewing data for all the targets, including the drones, the orbs. Those last targets we did were pretty big items there. So that's there. And also the Moai, all the data, all 4 targets are on my Patreon. So thank you so much to all my Patreon members. You guys are the best. But that's how you can access the full data there. And also I want to thank everybody who supported my shop over the holidays. That's War Woman Goods on Etsy. Man, you guys are the best on that too. So thank you. That is my shop. And also you guys, please, I always say this, please send a huge prayer out for John Vendeventer. I actually talked to him on the phone yesterday, and he is not doing very well. And is in he was in the ICU out in Arkansas at the hospital. And so please say a prayer for him. He is a very, very dear friend of the show, and one of my regular co-hosts here on the channel. So he's the author of the Relics book series, and he's undergoing chemotherapy right now in the hospital. So please say a prayer for him and his family, his wife, Monica, and all of his kids and everybody. And yeah, thank you guys so much for that. Okay, let's get to our show. Okay. Hey, Renee, I see you in there. All right, let's get it going. Because Barry, I know Barry is biting at the bit, man. We have a lot to talk about tonight. Okay, the Easter Island heads, referred to as Moai, meaning statue in their native language, are monolithic sculptures depicting human figures, said to be representations of the island's inhabitants' ancestors. They were created between the 13th and 16th centuries. That's what they say. And there's so much mystery behind them. The Moai are located on a volcanic island called Rapa Nui, also known as Easter Island. Many of the heads can be found around the coast, located on stone platforms called ahu. Many say these sculptures work as protectors, guarding the island from any potential intruders. The figures depict the living faces of deified ancestors, and it is likely that they were modeled after individualized people. Some accounts from the people of Rapa Nui say that Moai were endowed with divine power and walked by themselves. By 1868, the Moai had all been toppled. The reasons cited include European contact, civil wars with the Rapa Nui society, and the natural disasters like earthquakes and tsunamis. Local legend tells of a story of a powerful woman who magically forced the Moai down to the ground. Barry tasked me with 4 separate coordinate remote viewing targets to determine exactly who, number 1, who the Moai were, number 2, who built the Moai, number 3, what the Moai were used for, and number 4, how the Moai were built and transported. You guys are going to have your minds blown tonight. The data lines right up with these questions. And yes, those are blind targets. I was given sets of coordinates, and boom, boom, boom. I did all 4 of these, all 4 targets, and the data is incredible. Please help me welcome to the show our good friend Barry Littleton. If you guys haven't subscribed to his YouTube channel and his Patreon, please do. Barry is a longtime, incredible cutting-edge researcher when it comes to all things paranormal, cryptids, UFOs, extraterrestrial contact. Please help me welcome to the show my remote viewing tasker, Mr. Barry Littleton.
Greetings. Salutations. Hey, Jessica. What's up? I hope you had a good holiday, and hello to everybody in chat, and hope you all had a good holiday and good Christmas, and things are going good. And I appreciate you doing this target. I think it's a kind of a first that nobody's done that I've been able to find. So I think that'll be cool. Yeah. And something else. I want to start this off real quick with something, if I could. All right. Just a little, it's about to be the new year. So I want a bit of clarification and certain things I want to make sure that you don't get tied up in. Okay. I want everybody to know that I am not against the Farsight Institute. Okay. Now, they've done some interesting information. They've given some stuff. They have melanin dominant remote viewers that are in cat suits. That's great. I could dig that a little, so little things like that. I want everybody to think that I'm against them. But what I did say is that they're one of the people that is promoting don't go into the light thing. And all the work I have done shows that that is not true. Being a medium, it is not true. Okay. And thirdly, what I had done is I had given Jessica a blind target that was the light. And how come she didn't see the trap? And what I'm trying to say is when we have these negative entities, these demonic forces that have actually given us some of our religions, okay? So they know us very well. And to think that you don't have certain dark forces or negative inorganic beings that aren't influencing remote viewers is insanity. That's going to be one of the first things the darker forces are going to target. So when doing that, and the people that are doing this remote viewing, just be aware. How do they protect themselves? What do? Do they have problems with dark forces and getting attacked right here in the 3rd dimension like some of us do? So be aware they could be influenced. So it's not that I'm completely against all the work that those people are doing. It's not that. But I'm saying be aware that those people, anyone can be influenced. And it gets really serious, because for me, it's not about all this work and all this stuff. It's about what does this do to help my existence? What is this going to do to help when my body isn't running anymore? Consciously. This is important stuff, because we have the illusion of time, which we really don't have any, and when it comes to our mortality. So that's all. I just want to throw that out there. One other thing I want to make sure you get credit for. I saw a couple of people over the holiday that I've not seen in a while, and one of them, somebody who's really sharp, but they're not really into this type of stuff, quote unquote, but they catch a lot. And they checked out some of the work we done. They checked you out. You know, they said, man, they said that Jessica's got for that remote viewing stuff, she's got a good database there for all these different things she's remote viewed for you and for other people, and just all the different ones that are addressed in her remote viewing investigation. It's a really good database along with the other type of stuff she's doing. So that's somebody giving you credit that's outside of these circles, outside of this community. I wanted you to know about that, and I think it's really cool. You know, so that, you know, sometimes in the data you're putting up with the RV speaks a lot louder than a lot of the fantasy that we hear so much that predominates these communities. A lot of people want fantasy, not data.
Yeah, data can be pretty boring because it's just data, right? But it's just you know, we do this for fun, and it's changed my life, honestly, like being able to do this. And I mean, it's just such a fun hobby, being able to have a hobby that has just progressed to this level at this point, you know, so we're putting out shows talking about this. Is something I never saw coming. I really didn't. So thank you, Barry. I appreciate that. And and thanks to your friend who said that. I appreciate it.
I'm sure a lot of people in the audience feels the same. I mean, you do a really good job, and you're on it all the time. I think it was Jock Doubleday was asking you, you're a mom too, or do you like have a clone? He's asking if you was cloned. So good job, my friend. Very good
Thank
job.
you. I'm not clone. I could use an assistant though. I know, but that's not I wouldn't want a clone of me. That would be a nightmare. That would be a nightmare. But I am a Gemini, so we'd be butting heads all the time. Me and if I had a clone, okay, I'd be the good one. Okay, you'd know the difference. But yeah, well, you gave me a fantastic target. I mean, this is something I've not even thought to remote view. You know, this is not something I don't ever know what to expect when I get a target from you, much less know what to expect when I get 4 targets from you at once. Tell me kind of why you gave me this target, and then we'll get into kind of like what this target is.
Oh boy. I thought you might ask that or say it. Okay, I'm just going to be frank, okay? When I'm in the morning, in the early parts of the morning, normally between what they would call the bewitching hour, between 3, it's normally about 5 a.m., I get information. I'm tuned in. It's just has been that way since I was a kid. My encounters happen during those times too. So every morning when I'm out walking at that time, normally around 3:30, I'm getting information. And this time it was about the Moai. And, you know, not just was I, you know, I sometimes I will get visions, sometimes I'll be there, sometimes it'll be the communication that comes from either it'll be the angelic realms, or sometimes the only thing I can call is the star beings. And I can say that I can tell the difference by the way their vibration feels. The angelics feel much more, it's much more of a peaceful, loving, encouraging type of thing, as to where the star beings often it's hard fact information. Sometimes it's scientific mixed with it's different, but it's not bad or anything. It's still blessed in a way, but not like they're just different frequencies, different vibrations. Anyway, this time was about the Moai. Okay. And I was encouraged to share this with you and to give this to you as this target. And what I'm seeing and what I've got is that we don't see that correct, what that place was. And when you look at it in terms of, you know, there's a legend that they have here. What is it? How do you pronounce the name? I'm mispronouncing names. How do you pronounce the people, their name that live there?
The Polynesians?
Well, no. The Hawaii, it's a name
Moai.
for the, yeah.
I don't know Moaitians. I just made that up. I have no idea.
No, it's the name of the people that
Moai.
actually live there. As far as the Polynesian expanse that was, but the name of the the name of the people there, they've got their own. You trying to throw me off?
We probably should have game plan for the show started.
I can't get to laughing. I got to be serious, or I'll be talking too long. Okay. The people there, they have a story of that was once part of a larger continent that they call Hevera, Hiva. And I think Grant Cameron talks about this quite a bit. The elder had told him too. So anyway, that's part of this, and that we know that was done with volcanic ash. I heard people saying earlier that it's concrete. Those are concrete stones. No, they're not. They're made from volcanic ash. And that's
that was
supposed to be,
John.
so this takes us into what Hiva would actually be Mu, and that's where Mu was located, that was mostly destroyed by the volcanoes, and I think a little bit more than that, honestly, but we'll go with that for now. And that was left there is Easter Island, which is only named that because the cats that ran up on it in 1700 was it was Easter time. That's in no way what that's called by most. Anyway, that is, I think, this is what I got. And I don't want to tick off anybody that's from there. That's against what everything's saying we've been taught, but I don't know. I'll tell you what I picked up is that this, in the cycle when that was still Mu and active, that was a pineal colony. And that was a pineal colony. That's not just the why it's shaped triangular like that, but also why, if you look at the evidence scientifically, it's been deforested. No trees grow on Easter Island. So it's very, very hard to grow any crops there. And they have a constant problem with hunger there. Okay. And in terms of like some of the Moai were not just toppled over between the years of like that first explorer found him, and in the second one, which I think was Churchwood, if I'm not mistaken, he had, by then a lot of them had been toppled in. All right. So when dealing with that type of an environment, this deforestation, and how the Moai were also turned looking towards, quote unquote, the villages and against the sea, I think that's what you're dealing with. And you're dealing with what was a type 1 civilization. You've got beings that were absolutely powerful in terms of perception, in terms of cognitive abilities, in terms of energy manipulation, and they had to be imprisoned. And I think you're looking at the guards. I think the Moai were guards. And so that's what I picked up. And why I gave you this target is to see how much what I vision, what I see, sustains, like is backed up by your data. Kind of the same way what I know about High Brazil and said it was a ship from inner Earth. That's something I've seen years ago. Years. Okay, and your data backed that one up. That you found your data says something very, you didn't know, you have no idea. That's what makes this much more original than just us doing fantasy. I was on Mars. I was battling the reptilians. I constructed a plasma beam rifle. Then I flew the ship. Then I mean, this is a little more substance than that. Anyway, so that's why I gave you the target, to see, how much of what I'm seeing spiritually and see through my third eye, which is not remote viewing, which I think is something that you really do a good distinctive difference in. Not just astral seeing, not just seeing clairvoyantly, like what I'm talking about, or seeing is really perceiving energy directly through the pineals, what true seeing is. Okay, and it comes in different ways. But you're doing something that's much more a scientific trained system you've been in that aids you to see focusly. So I think it's cool to just, do a little comparison.
Well,
and if
thank
nothing
you.
else, just the exploration of what it is too. It's just fun,
Yeah. No, this is super cool. Super cool. Now I want to go back. Thank you, Renee, for being here tonight. I appreciate that. Renee says the first settlers of Easter Island are known as the Hanau Momoko, and they came from the Marquesas Islands. The original Rapa Nui culture and language are very similar to those of the Marquesas. Y'all know I can't pronounce words right. Islands. Okay, thank you, Renee.
Thank you for that. I could never even pronounce that. That Rapa Nui, they've got those tablets too. They're like completely untranslatable by like anyone, I do believe. That the Rapa Nui she mentioned there. It's very cool. Mm-hmm. Thank you. Yeah.
It's a he. Renee's a boy.
Oh, sorry,
He's a man. It's okay. Okay. I just wanted to take one more look at this picture that I put up on the screen. Look how tiny the humans are standing in front of these statues. I think this is it. Look at those two people with the white shirts on the ground in front of these things. These are huge. Are these are considered monoliths? Is that right, Barry?
Yeah, I believe so. Some of them are 30 feet tall, but there are others, they say they're like 7 stories, a 7-story tall building. I've heard that, because they're all over. They're all over. You've got in the valley, you've got others too. There's like what 100 or so of those all over Easter Island, I believe. But some of them are in that are even still connected to the volcanic ash. That whole thing has been changed. That culture was changed sometime to where they started worshiping the worship of the seagull, because they had the eggs that brought the eggs that were nutrition, and it was so hard to grow anything there. And does that not sound a lot like a pineal colony place where where you just, where you've got gifted beings that have to be restricted nutritional wise as well. I think it's something all different going on there than what we're led to believe when it was still Mu or Havera.
Okay. So we've been establishing in former shows and previous shows that giants existed on this earth. Giants have existed on this earth. There's no doubt in my mind. But we've also discussed petrified giants, and we've discussed even the Russian soldiers that were turned to stone, to limestone, when they shot down that UFO. And this is in a declassified KGB document, CIA document, that says that 23 soldiers were turned to stone when I think it was like 5 ETs got out of the craft. They formed into an orb, and an electric surge, like a flash went off, and all those people turned to stone. Okay, so we know this. According to declassified documents and our remote viewing, sessions we've done, and just written accounts, there could have been petrified giants too. Petrified people, petrified plants, petrified everything. I don't know. But you said that you believe that these stones are actual guards of the island. Do you think that these could have been, and we haven't gotten into the data yet, do you think these could have been actual living beings at some point?
To be honest with you, I think so. I think so. I think that not just that, I think they're being posed like that before they were toppled. I think it's also creating some type of an energetic barrier, and it continued to do so after they were deceased, if that makes sense. And I think that's why they were toppled.
Wow.
Because there's sometime between the year that I can't think of the name of the first guy that went there, but it was like 1700, right around in there. And then 4 years later, I think it was either Churchwood or this other guy came, and there were these, and half of them were toppled on the island. That happened in the 4 years between those two explorers coming. So that was a long time ago. And then it continued to happen in the modern day time. I always found those hats extremely interesting. It's been said that those were actually supposed to demonstrate the saving of mana and the life energy and the consciousness stored in the cranium and also above the head, as in the silver cord that comes out and the knowledge that comes in from universe that's being stored and encapsulated within those red hats. That's what I've read. So I don't know. It's interesting conceptually, no matter how you look at it.
They look like fez hats, those fez caps, or like a Yerub Shriner cap. My grandfather was a Yerub Shriner. Okay, so he had those hats with the rhinestones and everything on it. Yeah. Interesting. I know. That's the first thing I thought when I saw those with little caps on their heads. I was thought, man, that looks like a fez. Okay. But yeah, a lot of these things are actually down deep into the ground, and I know we've discussed on the channel. We've discussed the potential for there being a mud flood or all these floods that the Earth has had. Of course, you were talking about Mu earlier, Lemuria, as well, and man, a lot of these things have been buried in some kind of act of nature, apparently.
And it makes you wonder, what happened that made all that work just stop? And I think that's part of the flood story of Hiva that that the population is talking about. And that goes right along with some of the stuff I've talked about. The Randall Carlson, I think, he's done some of the best work about the flood that ended the Ice Age And that, is probably what they're describing there that actually did move. And along with the volcanoes too. A lot of those islands are made by volcanic activity. So the fact it would be destroyed by one is not all that uncommon.
Yeah. Jennifer Patterson. Hey, lady. Thank you so much for your support. Thank you for that super sticker. I appreciate you being here tonight. And we also have, Lynette says, check out Roger Spur's Mud Fossils University. Yes, I love his channel. And he has DNA verified data about giant humans and more on the subject. So yeah, you guys go check out Mud Fossil University on YouTube. I would love to have him on the show sometime. We need to bring him on to talk about the giants. I want to show him some pictures of my dinosaur that I stepped on in Alabama. Okay. So, all right. So should we get into the data, or how about we show some more pictures first? What do you think? What should we do?
Man, there's a lot of data, so I know people probably want to hear the data, and we can kind of go by, because it's broken down in four different areas, and we can kind of go through each one, or we can do whatever you want to do, whatever the audience wants. I'm along for the ride. I'm just blessed to be here. It's a lot of fun, and I think it'll be really interesting because it's a lot of data. So
it is. Well, it seems as though these have been dated. Okay, so there's a date, and I kind of made a side note when I was doing my intro tonight. They say that they were created between the 13th and the 16th centuries. And I said, well, that's what they say. But I know that we have had a whole lot of timeline deception with our history, and we really just don't know. And even having Jock Doubleday on my show, he was showing evidence. And he's no expert, he says. He's not a geologist. He's just traveled the world and he's seen some very anomalous things. He said that, things are not dated correctly. Or, he was saying that these could actually be made of concrete. That's what he was saying. A lot of the mountains were made of concrete and stuff. I mean, it's just really, it's kind of baffling to me, okay, with all this stuff. And so I don't trust what our history books say. Let's just put it that way.
Analysis shows that it's volcanic ash, not concrete.
Okay.
But Graham Hancock has done quite a bit of work on this, and he talks about that they've dated it like these Moai older than 3,500 years, is what he was saying.
Wow.
Yeah. So I mean, so our way of dating is definitely off. I would agree with that. No argument there.
Yes. Yeah, Caleb's in the chat. Hey, Caleb Jade. He says, don't believe the narrative. I don't. Don't worry. We don't believe the narrative always over here. For entertainment purposes only. Okay.
Oh, serious? For real? They're for real. I'm sorry. I'm just teasing.
Look how big that is. I mean, just with those people standing beside it, these things are just massive.
Hey, okay, let me just throw something in there before we even get to the data.
Okay.
Look, okay, sometimes we got to listen to what the inhabitants say, and the elders that say when they ask how did the Moa get across the island, they said the elders said that they asked them and they got up and walked across, and that's just automatically. Everybody laughs at that and it's just dismissed and everything. But I think it shouldn't be so much so, because suddenly you've got this team of scientists that they made their own Moai and they put the ropes around it and they're all pulling it like it's this tug of war and it wobbles a little bit. And supposedly that's how they wobbled these things entirely across this island for how many ever miles it is from the quarry where they were constructed. I mean, that is one of those really kind of insulting explanations from science on that one. We're dealing with some type of, what I can see. We'll see if the data shows this, like what I saw with the pyramids, and your data proved that, which was the levitation, the sound technology, some of it even symbol sounds they're sounds that come from symbols that levitate things, gravity modification fields.
I was actually going to bring that up. Yeah, it's just like the pyramids. Who built the pyramids? And so Renee says the pukao are thought to represent the long hair of ancient islanders who would tie it up in a bun on top of their heads And in ancient beliefs, hair was thought to contain mana or supernatural powers. So I'm always flinging my hair around. It's magical, magical, I tell you. Okay. Yes. So all the guys wearing man buns, they're just holding their magic in place, right? Okay, I like that. Okay, let's get to the data. Let's get to the data. Okay, because let's go to the first one. Who were the Moai?
Okay, cool.
Okay, should we go to that one? Okay, let's go to the first one. First things first.
That was the first target. You're right.
Okay. For everyone who is a member of my Patreon, you guys can follow along with us. This is 48223847. This is our first target. That was all I was given to people who are not familiar with remote viewing. This is a coordinate remote viewing target. I was given a set of numbers, those 8 numbers. And through those 8 numbers, I got all this data that we're about to go over right now. Okay. And the picture, you know what? Looking at the picture, Barry, it actually looks like the island, and it looks like all the statues on the edge of the island. Okay, I'll show the audience the picture tonight, because I kind of was impressed with it after I found out what the target was. I was like, ooh, this is the island, and those are the statues that I drew. Okay. Okay, so this was wild, because when I got into this session, and Robin says, our hair is an antenna and it includes beards. Yes, totally. It absolutely is. It helps you with tracking and stuff too, like spirit tracking when you're in the woods. Okay. So who are the Moai? Who were they? Okay, when I got into this session, I heard all this. I wrote down foreigners. I wrote down like foreign languages. Like I didn't understand what language it was. I could not put my finger on what language it was I was hearing, but it was chatter. I just kept hearing sounds, people speaking. They were talking over each other, and it was kind of fast and loud, but it was a foreign language that I did not know what it was. I had no idea. So some of my sensory data, I wrote sounds, speaking, ruthless, square, clean, robotic, living, organic, and then fuzzy. That was some of my sensory data. Now, some of my analytic overlay for this, it includes chatterbox, okay, because I was hearing all this chattering going on. Foreign and foreigners. That's what I wrote down. I started picking up on like a cube or a container. Okay. Like a container of some sort. I wrote a box. I started picking up on what looked like the Jetsons, the cartoon, the Jetsons, they're made. The robot made. Okay, so I was picking up on, like, I wrote Mr. Roboto, and then I wrote the Jetsons made. Okay, because that's what I was seeing. I was seeing like a robot. I thought it was a robot that I was looking at. But then I wrote living organism. Very advanced civilization. AI, but organic. Okay, so like I want to explain this, because this was a big part of this first like 3 stages of my data. I kept picking up on something that seemed to be organic, like real, like living, but it was an advanced form of artificial intelligence. So it was like both. It was like AI, but it was natural.
So you're saying a cyborg. You're saying cyborg. The science fiction, that would be a cyborg. Yeah, I got you.
Yeah, I don't know. I kept picking up on AI, but it was organic. And I was picking up on like people or like robots that were actually made out of like humans. It was just so weird. It was very odd. But then I got into like my data, the AOL started getting into like mycelium and fungus. Like I wrote fungus, mycelium, mushrooms, mold, and mildew. Okay, like I was getting into like that fungus and like the bacteria and stuff. I was picking up on that. I actually wrote bacteria down. Now I want to show the audience my sketch, okay, because I think this is kind of cool. So this is my sketch. I
want to know how you think that factors in. That's really important, I think.
Yeah, so I mean, I don't know. It's just like it could be the island and like all the statues like around the edges of the island, kind of. I mean, that's kind of what I feel like when I was analyzing the data later. It's kind of cool.
Kind of does look like that.
It kind of does, yeah.
Containing something. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so let's stop there and analyze this for a minute. Did anything stand out to you? Because we are looking at who were the Moai. And I'm picking up on like AI, but organic. Like, but a very advanced civilization. Very advanced
civilization. You had said that, you know?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
wow, you know, in later data, a word will come up like 2 or 3 times.
Yeah.
And I find that's interesting. I might as well just say the word now because it hasn't come up yet, but it will. The word Saturn will start coming up in your data. And I found that very interesting. It came up 2 or 3 times amongst these 4 targets. For me, the fungal component and mycelium is so closely connected to my contact experience that takes me to a whole nother level. You know, even to the point of little silly things in our entertainment, like E.T. Does anybody know what E.T. really was?
The from the movie?
Yeah, it was a plant. That's coming from, what is it, Spielberg? He said that the E.T. was supposed to be a plant. And when you go to, I think it's in Florida, they've got that Disneyland that has like E.T.'s planet, and you go in there, it's like a bunch of glowing mushrooms, a mushroom planet.
Oh,
and if you think about it, when he first came here, he wasn't just eating Reese's Pieces. He was actually collecting plants. And if you remember, he healed the plant and caused him to grow. It would heal him, bring him back to life. He was a plant. Anyway, yeah. So when dealing with the mycelium and the fungal, that just makes me think of something. It could be technology, or they could be beings that are coming from that too, or have an origin there. It's really interesting when dealing with that, because to me, sorry, but I got to say it, you know, the Moai, they look like brothers, just like the Olmecs look like brothers, or maybe like Dwayne Johnson and Rikishi, like Samoan cats. You know, I mean.
yeah. You know, they even, okay, so there's even an emoji. Okay, hey Adolf. Adolf said to show my drawing again. Okay, I'm going to show the drawing again because a Little Twisted, who says that Little Twisted has done a lot of research on this and has studied it in extensively. I want to show. Wait, I want to show those are the emojis. Is that it? Hold on. It doesn't show up the same on the screen on here as it does there. But those are supposed to be the Easter Island statues. Okay, so Little Twisted says that's the volcano crater, Jessica. We used it was used as an amphitheater.
Ooh.
And that's the picture.
Ooh, that's interesting. That's a good. That's a good deal. You know, because automatically we know it's made of volcanic ash. That those things are. You know, right now I've noticed Ancient Aliens in the later seasons has taken a very interest in UFOs that are seen around volcanoes coming in and out of them, and what type of technology it is that can be used to convert heat into energy or allow a ship to exist in there. But whatever it is, you know, a lot of during Earth changes, but a lot of UFOs are seen around volcanic, and that I think this is tying right into that. You know.
Yeah.
Not just using lava tubes as possible bases, but I think it goes a lot more. We're dealing with some type of energy conversion, heat, energy, entropy, third law of dynamics, a second law of thermodynamics type of thing. I think maybe they're actually harnessing the entropy.
Yeah, could be. Okay, so let's go to stage 4 of my data. Okay. More data. Okay, we have a lot of data tonight, everybody, by the way. Okay. So, okay, for here, I picked up on, I was picking up on something that was at the bottom. I kept picking up on like last, the bottom, a bottom floor. Okay, that was in my analytic overlay for my sister day. It was like bottom, last, the floor. Something like, almost like the floor dropped out of something is like what I was picking up on, like a floor dropped out of something. And then I wrote down stage 4. I don't know, stage 4. I wrote that down as part of my analytic overlay. And then I was picking up on something that was black. Okay, I was picking up on something that was black. That was in my sensory data. And it was a substance. And I actually wrote down venom, black goo. Well, actually, before that, I wrote ambiotic and zygote. I don't know what that has to do with this, but I wrote that down. Ambiotic and zygote. But I was picking up on like venom, like I guess from like, it could be venom, like poison, but I remember thinking about the movie, the Marvel character Venom and the black goo. Okay. And how it envelops his entire body. Okay. It's like it takes over the human guy. What is it? That Ed Hardy guy or Don Hardy, whatever his name is.
Mm-hmm.
Takes over his body, right?
Black Goo did the same thing on the first 2 seasons of the X-Files. Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay. Well, that's what I was picking up on. And I also wrote down Vanta Black as well.
Really?
Yes.
Really?
You didn't
Did you
see
ever
that?
watch that video I did over Vanta Black? Did I ever send those to you? I did
A
2
long
videos.
time ago, a while back. Yeah. I remember hearing about it, but I don't know what it is. Yeah.
It's a material that completely absorbs all light. And that's what I think was on the cover of when we first started doing this. One of the first targets I gave you was the Alaska pyramids. I gave it to, I think, Tanya Braddock too. And both of you were getting that type of black substance on it. And I think that's a type of Vanta black that was used back in that cycle to cover negative pyramids that are negative of the initiates that had gained energy, that technology, the dark forces. I think they were using those dark pyramids. I have a memory of that. So, wow. Okay, sorry. Please keep going. It trips me out a little because before you go further, is everything you were getting before this was fungi and mycelium. And when dealing with this, then this black substance you get, if it's not the black goo, but it also could be radiotropic fungus, which is also black, very dark black, also uses gamma radiation to convert, it converts gamma radiation into the growth cycle. And that's the fungus that's growing on Chernobyl, the walls of Fukushima had to be scraped off by the robots. Okay, and I'd mentioned before how that substance actually, you've got scientists saying, melanin dominant scientists that have communicated with me undercover like they do, saying that they thought that was from a type 3 or 4 civilization to help us with radiation cleanup. And the Quiche Foundation that have all these supposed ideas about clean energy, and no one's actually, that I know, in the free energy movement or anywhere else has ever actually seen one of these machines in operation. But that's a whole nother thing. But something that can be looked up is a type of force field shield that they're trying to do for the International Space Station that actually deals with radiotropic fungus, and it's regenerative shielding that they're trying to put on the space station. You can look that up. I'm trying to think the exact scientific name of it, but anyway, it's just, so when you're saying things like that with your data, that's where I go with it. You know what I mean? Because that's like really serious. And some of these civilizations, we think they all need to be humanoid or some type of organism we're familiar with, grays or whatever. No, some of them can be on the microscopic level or nano or pico level and be way more advanced than us. So that needs to be, I think, acknowledged here. So please keep going. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Well, it's so interesting because it's like the whole target, all the session, the whole session, it was going from like organic to like AI and back. So it was just like a mix like that. So, okay. So the last thing I said was Vanta Black, because I was picking up on a substance. That was one of my tangibles actually, was a substance. And I was picking up on black goo and Vanta Black. Okay. Well, then I started picking up on some more of my sensory data. Was like smart, intelligent, futuristic, and something that was like, and I picked up on something shiny. So you mentioned Vanta Black was kind of shiny too. So I picked up on something that was shiny, but it was everywhere. So like whatever this was, there was a takeover. Okay, something took this over. I don't know if it was the black goo. I don't know, whatever this was. I was looking at, something was covered up and blacked out. I started down, blacked out, covered up, and it was everywhere, and it had taken over. And that's when I ended the session. Actually, was around that time. Okay, so I felt like I had gotten as much information as I could, because whatever it was like covered, and I was like, all right. I shut the session down. So what do you think about that? Like, would that have anything to do with who were the Moai. Who were they?
I kind of told you myself. I think those is what do you think? You're the one that saw it. What type of beings do you think that is? What type of life do you think this is that created these statues? That's the bottom line from that data. What do you think they were? They are.
I think it was something organic, but also AI, something very advanced. Like we've like gone back into the dark ages compared to whatever they were, I believe. Okay, so whatever this was, it was highly advanced. Dare I say, like extraterrestrial or something?
Okay, question, Jessica. From them, do you get a positive feeling or a negative feeling
about them? Well, it was fine. I thought it was not negative, but something kind of like took over towards the end that seemed kind of negative. Okay, and I think it's interesting. I've seen. Could have been. Well, it could have been like a black goo takeover or something too. I know.
Some type of a battle.
Jay Truesiger says, I think black goo in this case was like a virus or a disease. And I had picked up on the bacteria and stuff too. So I don't know.
Like the Black Plague, similar.
Yeah, maybe.
That makes sense. Maybe so. Makes sense.
Yeah.
I wouldn't argue that at all. I find it very interesting, I haven't done it yet. I'm just gonna let this cat out of the bag because when I do it, no one will know. A target that I've almost given you for months now is those robotic-looking things that were seen with the bombs, the smoke bombs before the Black Plague happened. And there were also ones seen in a newer case where people got sick in that city too. But before the robotic plague happened, they were seeing those beings look a lot like that being that was the redwood forest creature that looked, sorry, I can't remember the name of it, but I've heard you mention this creature before. It looks almost, they're different representations of it, but one of it looks almost like a witch type of robot, like with holding something in its hand. It looks quite similar to these things that were sighted before the plague happened. And they say that they thought that they were connected because they were like, some say they saw like a UFO or an asteroid and they saw these beings, and then the plague happened after that, and that's where the rats apparently got infected from these things. So I don't know, just bringing it up, just food for thought, as I'm offering food for thought. So
for sure. Elise Tanner, thank you for that super sticker. I appreciate that very much. I appreciate your support. Okay, let's go to the second question, the second target.
Yes, yeah, cool.
Who built these things? That's the second target. Who built these things? Okay. Who built the Moai? All right. A lot of interesting data on this one. A lot of interesting data. Okay. So my sensory data for this, who built the Moai? I picked up, okay, so this is what I wrote down. Top, highest, organized, freed, balanced, themed. Like I was seeing like seams. Like, I don't know, it's almost like when Jock was on the show the other day and we were talking about seams in the earth, like where things might have been constructed instead of naturally formed. Themes, disjointed. I wrote disjointed, frazzled, and frayed. That's what I wrote down. So my first thing I wrote down for my analytic overlay was elite. Highest up, an organization, militant, an agency, an NGO, a non-governmental organization, intelligence. I wrote intelligence. I mean, it was kind of on the lines of like, I was picking up on something like the DOD or like the Office of Intelligence or something. Like that's like where my data was kind of going, my analytic overlay. Okay. Let's see. I wrote down freeform, let go. I wrote unleashed upon us. Unleashed upon us is what I heard. I literally heard that. I was thinking about something that was like the scales of balance or the scales of justice, that kind of stuff. And then I was like, I mentioned like the seamed. So I wrote like sewed together or sewn together is what I wrote down. I wrote down like the fray or frayed. I wrote fray and the frayed. void, and then I got more like blackout data. Okay, like that last target I had gotten like black, Vanta black, and this target I was getting like blackout, black hole, a void. Not a void, but void, VOID. I got void and nevermore. Okay, and for this stage 3 drawing, I actually drew like a black circle. It was just like a black circle. Like that was like a black hole. Like it was literally a black void or like a hole. That was my sketch for this page. So let's stop for a second and let's analyze it. What do you think about this?
You're describing beings that are coming from a Mako, a magnetically eternally collapsing objects, a black hole. You've drawn one that looks remarkably just like the Mako that's on ancient cave paintings, okay? Or also the Eye of Africa, that wretched structure that's seen. And a lot of people used to think that that possibly was Atlantis. I don't specifically agree with that, but it was some type of a mecca of some type. And that's what you're describing there, is beings that are coming from, or intelligence that's coming through a Mako, through a black hole. And when you start looking in terms of, as I've explained before, these black holes, these Makos, are actually the Akashic records. They're the hard drives of the universe, whether they be large or mini or whatever, or colliding black holes. It just takes to another level. You know, I think so. When it gets pretty heavy there. That's my analysis of that. And then taking this back to what the Moai were themselves, although the giants themselves, the structures, we're going down to some type of plant life. That's the stuff like that I didn't expect. And I expected maybe you might come up with something that was like silicon life. And I think that's what we're dealing with a lot, like what Jock and other people are talking about, is a type of silicon life. You know, the only place I've seen that replicated really good was like on actually Doctor Who, the older ones. They had a being named Eldred that was the Hand of Fear, that was supposed to be a total silicon life form. And they also had these stones, the stones of blood. And these were supposed to be silicon type of these stones they looked like they were from the circle, Stonehenge. But they were like these blood stones that lived on plasma. Anyway, this point being, I think maybe I thought we would see more of that, but what you picked up is more of a mycelium fungal plant type of component, you know, on both sides. And when you think of there being a war, with what my vision is seeing, what would be contained there by these quote unquote guards, you're talking about a war between different sentient species, completely different. You know what I mean? There might be even on a plant fungal component. That's really a trip. Not something that hopefully the data may change from here, but that's what I'm getting a lot of. And it's just not what you would expect, not what I was expecting. When I say I sometimes bite off more than I could chew with this.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we mentioned the giants. I mean, these stones are giant, and this is an interesting comment from Renee. It says throughout Polynesia, from west to Easter Island, the fair-skinned, red-haired giants dominate the culture. Many skeletons have been found. The Maori have had nuclear DNA testing confirming this. Wow, those red-headed giants are all over the world, Barry. Okay, the giants, they're Lovelock Cave, Giant of Kandahar. They're all over the place. Down in Polynesia as well.
You've got a number of them that were you know, it's too bad it's such a cover up with that when you get away from the ones that were obviously not, you know, head binding of any type. And how often the redhead giants come up in both white culture and in black culture, you know, because it was said that, you know, like some of the melanin dominant extraterrestrials that have been seen have said to have red hair, similar to how the there's those brothers that have that reddish blondish hair. I can't think of where They're not Polynesian. They might be Polynesian too. But anyway, just similar to that when you start going, galactic and intergalactic species, but you would think we'd be dealing with giant and humanoids, and you wouldn't hardly think of giants being in some form of plant giants. But that's what it sounds like. What's what you're describing with the Moai. Your first target, their first anyway, sorry. Probably got a lot more stuff to do. Just go on over the other stuff. I was continue to be blown away.
So excuse me. Okay, so we're still on target number 2. This is interesting too. C. Kanoa Bugado says giant bones found in Hawaii, often during hotel developments. So there's giants in Hawaii. I think it was Moondog said there are still giants in Hawaii today. Okay, down in Hawaii. Very interesting. I appreciate all the comments you guys are putting in the chat. I'm trying to see all of them, but they're going kind of fast tonight. But yeah, lots of giants found all over the place. California, the Mojave Desert. Thank you guys. I see your comments in there. Okay, so let's go to stage 4 of my data. This is still for who built the Moai. Okay. Some of my sensory data was like something that was unjust. Okay, hiding, undercover. Okay, and so with my analytic overlay, I wrote down Neverland, and I was seeing something that looked. I wrote down like Peter Pan, or I wrote Pan, but I was kind of picking up on like a Peter Pan type of a energy, right? So I wrote Pan, Neverland Pan, hidden in plain sight, and I literally wrote down Alien. Okay, so Alien is in my data for that. But I was seeing something that was very industrial, like a facility of some sort. Something very industrial, a facility, like I thought I was seeing like an office space or something. And I started picking up on like underground tunnel systems, like underground facilities. It seemed very like military based or something, some kind of very organized underground system is what I was picking up on. And I wrote down deep underground military base. I wrote DUMBs, underground, militant, regimented. And I was not even seeing like tunnels with like lights in these tunnels and in hallways and just something that was like deep underground. And I wrote down tunnel system and like connect. I was picking up that whatever this was connected to other tunnels and other systems. And it was like a huge network of underground tunneling systems. And I just wrote connected systems. Okay, so that was my second page there. And then I was picking up, so like some more analytic overlay was like a railway system or like a speed. I know this is wild because this is like who built these things. This is back in like, long time ago. Okay. And I was picking up on like speed trains and like bullet trains and stuff. That's what I was picking up on there. Something that was really fast. But that was just analytic overlay though. Okay. But I was picking up on something that was moving fast in leaps and bounds, fast and furious with some of my analytic overlay. Something that was hidden. And I kept picking up on something that was hidden and undercover, I kept picking up on that a lot throughout this data. I actually wrote down Area 51 and like base of operations, something that was never seen. And at the end of this target, I heard somebody say, "Watch me," and I was like, "Oops, I'm gonna shut this one down." Because somebody's either watching me or I need to just get out of this one. Because I don't know what these targets are, and I'm already like picking up on something like underground. And I was like, dude, I'm out of here. Peace. I'm out.
You caught ghosts, Toby? You caught ghosts? Oh. So question.
That voice said, watch me. And I was like, ooh, I don't want to watch you. I'm going to get out of here.
Before that, again, I'll ask, were you getting a negative vibe or a positive vibe?
I mean,
from these builders.
I mean, I see things kind of different sometimes because, like, I don't know, I wasn't like, I didn't feel like scared of anything. Okay, it wasn't like bad. I didn't feel like a negative vibe, but it was just like militant, undercover. I mean, I don't really try to let my emotions get into it to be like, oh, I think this is bad or good. I'm just putting out the data, but analyzing it, it just is what it is. You know what I mean? It's just some sort of like military, industrial, some kind of organization. Okay, it was an organization that built these. Because the question was, the target is, who built the Moai. Okay. And it's some kind of like large organization. Okay. That underground. I don't know. It would be, I mean, maybe it's just like, maybe I'm kind of picking up on like it's the equivalent of like and I wrote down the elite. That was the first thing I wrote down.
Well, what you're describing first is another one of these. Imagine that, a famed underground base that goes back 4,000 or 5,000 years ago, probably. Okay.
Mhm.
Something that stuck out. That's the data you have on there several times at the beginning. Frey, right? Like kind of,
Frey. Yeah. Frey.
yeah. Which I kept picking up when I was looking at the first time was beings that are physically very weak, puny.
Okay.
I don't know. I get that out of the data you put down there. But when you start dealing with beings that have incredible technology, doesn't matter. When you say Peter Pan, I had to turn. I almost dozed off last night. It was that damn Robin Williams Peter Pan movie on Sci-Fi. I was dozing off, man.
Yeah.
Trying to, yeah. But it's I can only watch. You can only watch A Christmas Story so many times, right? Anyway, come on. How many of y'all watch Ralphie every year? Anyway, me too.
Should try out.
Okay, but anyway, they're the underground bases. We're dealing with that, and I mean that's coming to how actually I think you're hearing how advanced that was, and now we know that they were constructed, they built underground. These statues,
Okay.
and that also explains why some of them are still buried, and that I saw this deal about what's underneath Easter Island. But it wasn't very good. They didn't really say if there were tunnels under there or what's been X-rayed or anything. But I think that's really, really interesting there.
Yeah.
You're describing a base and a civilization down there, which has been
Yeah.
said before. But that one seems like it was more from beings that come from a Mako, a black hole.
Yeah. Oh, and that's Caleb talks about that, the Chicana. Okay, if I'm pronouncing that right, the Chicana, inner Earth, basically, right? Like underground. Uh, Super interesting stuff here. Okay, and yeah, that
And
actually would make
I
sense.
think the numbers that you have underground, the factions that are
Yeah,
both extraterrestrial, interdimensional, and humans back engineering, and also crypto terrestrials. I think it's just out of control when you start dealing with the lava tubes of this planet, the catacombs of this planet, and inside the ocean.
ooh, interesting. Very. Um, Rocky Mountain Skywatcher says old tech that's been completely hidden from us. Yeah, a lot of things have been hidden from us for sure. Got to keep us down. Can't let us advance too much here. Okay, well, let's go to the third target. Okay, third target. The third target is, oh shoot, that's the second one again. Hold on, let me get my third one. The third target is, let me redo that. What were the Moai used for? Okay, what were they used for? Okay, and so I saw Arkeem in here. What's up, Arkeem? Thanks for being here tonight. Okay, target number 3. What were they used for? Okay, the first bit of my sensory data, I wrote down alternate or alternative. Something was alternative, enlightened. Alternative, enlightened. Go. I wrote go, something was go. Balanced, cold, full, projected, abhorrent, and dark. Okay, that's what I wrote down. Some of the first stuff I wrote down, like my analytic overlay for that sensory data, was like I wrote down Plan B, alternate route, chosen path, enlightenment. Again, the question is, what were they used for? Okay. So enlightenment, projection, a project, X factor. I heard clairaudiently, you win some and lose some. Win some, lose some. Okay, this is terrible. Don't know if I should say it. I'm going to say it. I wrote down Diddy. Okay, I wrote down Diddy because I was picking up on like tunnels and stuff. I started picking up on tunnels again. Okay, and trafficking. Okay, so I wrote down trafficking and tunnels. Something that had to do with lunar cycles. I wrote lunacy, but then I wrote lunar, and then I was picking up on something that occurred on every like lunar cycle. Throughout the lunar cycle, something was being done. It had to do with trafficking. Okay. I was getting like human trafficking, actually, is what I was picking up on. And something that would have been the equivalent of like the dark web or something. Like it was kind of dark. Like I picked up on something really dark. Okay. I picked up on something like really dark. But it was definitely this first 3 stages were definitely dealing with some. Okay. It started off being like an alternative, an alternate route, whatever they were used for, something that was like alternative of the project. But I was also picking up on some very dark berry that was like had to do with human trafficking as well. So I don't know. What do you think about that?
Well, the description of what they were doing, they don't totally sound like guards. I don't know. I mean, I think that no matter what, I'm still seeing that there's 2 factions battling there in one way or another, and I think this leads to some of why were they toppled over in the 4 years in the 1700s, and if that's the case, if they were either there, rather if it's there as the natives there say that the Moai were there to protect. And I thought maybe they were there as guards, is what I've seen, kind of. Okay. But why were they toppled over? Is it because they failed to protect people from what you're talking about? Or were they toppled over because their energy was still trying to stop that from happening and part of the battle that were keeping a certain sentient beings trapped there? Mm-hmm. I mean, it's kind of like, wow. I mean, I don't know now. It takes it kind of more broad, and it's not as quite as clear cut as I thought.
Okay, well,
clear cut as I hoped.
Well, here's the thing. Okay, well, I was picking up on like trafficking. Well, that could also be like slavery, right? Mm-hmm. And there some people say, one of the legends says like they were destroyed or toppled over because of they said slavery, but I didn't really understand like what that meant. Like why what is that, like how I didn't understand it. Okay. But they said it could have been toppled over because of the slavery, is what it said.
Well, at one point they said that enough of that population of Easter Island was in slavery and enslaved that there was only a total population of 11 people on Easter Island at one point.
Oh.
That's what's said. I've heard Grant Cameron and also somebody else who was over there talked about that. At one point, there's only 11 people on the planet on that island. I mean that again,
Oh, okay. Moondog Davis always calls me Jesse. I love it. Moondog, thank you. Easter Island has hundreds of tunnels, lava tubes, Jesse. This is my drawing for this one. It's kind of like a tube, a tunnel, something like that. I don't know what a lava tube looks like exactly, but
well, I mean, it makes sense. I mean, that's how islands are made, is volcanic activity. Yep. And if it was part of Mu was completely destroyed by volcanic activity. I just find, what I find interesting though is how Easter Island is in the shape of a triangle. It's kind of interesting, isn't it?
Oh, that's in my next target, actually. I drew a triangle. So, okay. Yes, this is intense. Thank you, Joanne. Very intense. Okay, well, let's go to the next page. Okay, we're gonna go to my stage 4 data for this. And again, it's what were these things used for? What were they used for? Okay, and so I was picking up on, so the last thing I wrote down was like the lunar cycle, something that was done on the lunar cycles. I was also picking up on some kind of trafficking that was being done there. But this is when I picked up on Saturn. I wrote down Saturnalia. Saturnalia. I don't know if that's how you pronounce it. Saturnalia. Did that just happen this week? Is that something the Romans used to celebrate? It was like the festival of chaos, right? You don't know?
I'm afraid I'm down on my Saturn ritual.
Saturnalia. I guess we whip each other with like whips and stuff. I don't know. Something like that. I may have it confused with another holiday. But I think it's where they would go and like hit each other with like whips and stuff. Okay.
I could get the gimp.
No, not like
that. I used to have some friends that were like that. They were Virgos, very sexually perverse people. Virgos.
Oh, no.
Sorry, just kidding.
Oh no. Okay. Well, let's get back. Okay, so I wrote down Saturnalia, and then Saturn return, a Saturn return. So I mean, it was kind of like the data for like the last part of the first, like stage 2 to 3. It was like lunar cycles, the moon, and then it went to Saturn. So it was very celestial, let's just say. So I was getting celestial data. Okay, and then I picked up on a square and a cube, and a circle and a ball. Okay, like a circle, a ball, and then the planet. So I was seeing like different planets. Like I said, it was very celestial. Okay. Then I wrote down for part of my sensory data, I wrote collision, collide. And then I wrote down planet X and Nibiru. And then I wrote down for some of my sensory data, I was like, wrote down return or returning and watching. I picked up on some kind of chaotic, like chaos. And I wrote down watchdog, dog star, world star. I wrote down world star. Hip hop. Just kidding. I didn't write hip hop. But watchdog, dog star, world star, in order out of chaos. That's what I wrote down. That's how I ended the whole target. Because there was some kind of chaotic event or something. Some kind of chaos.
And this is what they were used for.
Yes, that's what they were used for.
And let's keep this in mind. This is some type of fungal plant AI creatures, these Moai, that are doing this. What you're describing. You said something that sticks out like a sore thumb is you said dog star. Mm-hmm. That's serious. And this again goes to no one wants to this. I love this is taking us into melanin dominant extraterrestrials too, whether you want to talk about radiotropic fungus or humanoids or whatever. It's taking us into that. And that's exactly what the Moai look like. That's a matter of what they were, though. The long ears, the things that they're very interesting. What you're bringing out here, and I think it's good because it's well-rounded. I'm sorry it's not the tall whites. Little Molten Hal would probably be devastated right now. Anyway, sorry. I had to throw that out there. Sorry, I can't help it. Please keep going, my friend.
That was the last of that data. Like I didn't go super far on that one, I didn't spend more time on that one. Because you gotta think, like, I've got all these blind targets. I figured that like I could get enough data and then give it to you, and you could tell me to either go back and do more of it, or we got enough. Do you know what I mean? Because if I was completely off target, I didn't want to waste any more time because I spent a lot of time on these targets. So
I know, I'm sorry.
So I got that. So it was. I thought it was some pretty good data, though. Pretty good data. That's pretty jam packed.
Hey, question. Now that you know what they were, what the target was, what do you think they were doing? They were built to do.
Well, it has something to do with the stars and the planet, something celestial. That's what I think. 100%. That's what I think. Something.
You're describing Stonehenge, kind of.
Yeah, it was like a Stonehenge. Absolutely, that's what I think. They were used for something to do with. It was almost like they were watching. Maybe they were watching the skies. I don't know, because it had something to do with like Nibiru, Planet X. Planets colliding. I don't know. Maybe it was just some sort of maybe it's some sort of way to like map out the stars or like celestial events. I mean, I don't know.
Okay, so what you're saying is you have these organic cyborgs that are doing star charting of some type in a way similar to Stonehenge. That's what you're saying,
It
right?
sounds like it. Kind of sounds like it. I don't
That's
know
what
what
the
I'm
data's
saying.
showing.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. That's what the
That's
data's
about as
showing.
plain as you get. Man, well, since we're on a roll, why don't you go ahead? Oh, that was number 3. Let's go ahead. Let's go ahead and do
Okay.
the Babe Ruth slam. Let's do the
Number
4th one.
4.
And
Okay.
this was the one I was super interested
Okay.
in because I wanted it to be separate from who built it as opposed to how. You know what I mean? And then how were they transported? Did these cats get up and walk across the island? Did they get wobbled by just teams of people doing this tug of war thing? Is that how they did it? And they did, yeah, all those. I'm sure that was worth it for that. Or was it what I'm seeing? Some type of a sound technology, acoustic technology, used for both cutting, like the acoustic scalpel, but then also acoustic levitation. You know, these type of sound technology. So this will just be interesting to find out and break some of the myth about this.
Okay.
Or try to anyway. Sorry.
This really blows my mind with this data. I actually was more impressed with this data than any of the others. I was. And it actually lines up with the data that we got not only from who built the pyramids, but also Coral Castle. A long time ago, I remote viewed Coral Castle down in Florida. Okay. And some of the same data. So let's go to this. This is, okay, what the prompt is, the target is, how were the Moai built and transported? How were they built and transported? All right. So for my sensory data, I actually wrote down malicious, wavy, malcontent, violent, motion, spinning, falling, focused, intent, loud, and alert. All right. So my analytic overlay, I wrote down violet flame, blackness, void, darkness. I was seeing a circular motion, and I heard down the rabbit hole. Is what I heard. I wrote down free falling, on target, on point, intentions, manifest, pounding, pressurized, thud, compounded, and I was hearing alarms going off, alarms and alarming. So I was hearing alarms. And now for my drawing, I did another circle that was like a spinning circle again. Okay, so another circle spinning. So that's my first 3 stages of data right there, which I find that to be pretty interesting because it's like focused intention, on target, pounding, pressurized. Like I was getting a lot of, I was feeling like a big pressure, almost like the pressure, like, okay, so I grew up in the country and we used to have tornadoes at our house. I'm not going to say often, but too often for my liking. And my mom and my dad would take us into the hallway downstairs in our home. We lived on a farm in the middle of nowhere, and the tornadoes were attracted to our lake or our pastures or something. So like tornadoes would rip through, and I always remember every time a tornado would come through, it would suck the air out of the house. It was like, and like our ears would pop, and the pressure would like, it had this like, what is that, barometric pressure or something would like drop or go high. I don't know. It would change. And it was like this really dense pressure. And that's what I was feeling when I was remote viewing this, was that pressure. Like it's like the air just got sucked out of the room. That's what I was feeling when I was experiencing when I was remote viewing this. Okay. I'll go ahead and go straight to the stage 4 because I think that it's good. Let's just, instead of analyzing that, we'll analyze it all together. So I was actually, part of my analytic overlay, I wrote down wavelengths. I wrote down 5G because like I was getting all this like pressure, and I was picking up on some kind of like dangerous frequency, or dangerous frequency in radiation. So I was picking up on like cell towers, but I wrote down like radiation, and I wrote radiation towers. That's what I wrote down. But radiation and towers, separate, but it was kind of together. Okay. So I was picking up on like radiation, but dangerous frequencies, sound weapons. I actually wrote down sound weapons. I picked up on radar, sonar, LIDAR, and DEW, if y'all know what that means. Okay. So radar, sonar, LIDAR, DEW. And I wrote down triangulate in the trifecta. And in the trifecta, I want to show the audience what I wrote down. This is what I wrote down, a triangle right here. And the triangle underneath it says sound frequency, vibration, and energy. So energy, frequency, and vibration. That's what I wrote down. And it's got that triangle right there. So I picked up on that, but it was like the trifecta. I made that is the trifecta, the energy, frequency, vibration. I wrote down sound, frequency, vibration, and energy. But it was triangulated. That's what I wrote. That's how I wrote it. And then I wrote down like some of my other sensory data was like destructive and corrupted. That's what I wrote down. Something that was destructive and corrupted. And then I heard turn it around, fix it. And it was almost like fix it with sound healing. Okay, because I wrote down sound healing and sound bath. So yeah, and that was kind of the target right there. Like I kind of ended it after some of that data right there. But I find that really interesting because the question is, how are the Moai built and transported? By the trifecta: sound, frequency, vibration, and energy. Yeah, isn't that wild? I love it. This is my favorite one right
now. I mean, that one is so heavy. I almost have to have you read it again because I mean, the whole time you've been reading that, my mind is racing 1,000 miles an hour, just like it did when I read it the first time. And I'll tell you what I got out of that. Okay, what I see is that you're dealing with a race of beings that have a type of a technology that is gravity modification and also pressurized tools, and in terms of like laser tools that can be used, not just a laser type of tools that can be not just for carving things, but also that takes us into time control technology and what's called bending bent light rays, actually. Sorry, excuse me, circulating light beams. And that takes us into something like, circulating laser light beams, which is something like the gentleman, Dr. Ron Mallett, the brother from the University of Connecticut. He has a device. Yeah, and that right there is a Mako too, but a device that actually bends laser light into circular light beams, and it's used to actually send information backwards through time, quantum tunneling. Okay. And that's the device he has designed. That's something anyone can look up. And that's something that's just in the transparent part of the time control technology sector, which is very limited. You know what they're doing in the private sector. It's got to be just untold, okay? But what you're describing there are beings that are using certain technology through their intent, though, to actually not just carve things and construct things. You know, kind of like, what is it? Was it Da Vinci that said that the sculpture was already there? He just had to knock away the excess pieces. I believe you're talking about something done through pure intent and technology that works on pure intent. And I've talked about this before. I've been talking about this for years. Elizabeth Hayes, I don't have that book in here. Elizabeth Hayes, that wrote the book Initiation, she talks about that too, and about what happened. I have memories of this, okay, that there being technology that was used through the intent of will that could actually convert energy into matter and matter into energy. Similar to like what you see of the transporter on Star Trek, but different, turning things into different shapes and different things. And then what you have is, when you got this project that went on here, you have this infiltration, that you have beings that got access to this information or access to this technology through genetic rights, but they were dark. And when this technology reflects the intent of the user, And when your intent is selfish and malicious and these things, you can hide it from people like us. But at the telepathic level, you can't hide that. And it started manipulating. And what happened is those devices started going out of control. They were being used in the black pyramids that you've remote viewed that used Vanta Black. See, I'm getting too hyped. Getting too hyped here. Calm down. You see what I mean? But it's connecting the dots. You say you want to connect dots. Yeah. I'm saying how they're connecting for me. Okay. So then, but once that the selfish intentions of these other beings that were using this technology caused it to go awry. And when I say that, the selfish intentions and all that, it created something similar to what I think in entertainment we would see as a never-ending story. I always ask people, what was the nemesis and the main adversary in the never-ending story? Some people say, well, it was it was the dog. No, it wasn't the dog. That was the luck dragon. They say it was the big rock creature. No, it was not. That creature was devastated by the nemesis, by the adversary. The adversary was the nothing. And what was the nothing doing? It was dissolving Fantasia into nothing, matter into nothingness. That's what these devices started doing when they went awry, when these individuals were using them with selfish technology or selfish reasons. And some of that seems like is masked by some of these floods and cataclysms we've had on this earth that would happen naturally. But some of it is a result of that. The reason why we have so many sands or so many deserts on this planet is that, actually that continent, part of it went up and it came back down as mud and sand. Elizabeth H. talks about that in her book too. There's another book, The Great Pyramids, The Great Waters Under the Great Pyramid, that talks about it. Abdul Mumin. A lot of, so it just goes anyway. And some, so this, what you're talking about is technology that was used in the same premises. We're just talking about Easter Island, when I was a kid, I started having visions about Nan Maydal, and I was attracted to Nan Maydal. At fourth grade, what the hell is Nan Maydal? But I knew I'd been there at some point on this planet in another life. So it's things like that a lot of us, the reason why some people like me, I think, need to stay away from some sacred sites. It might not be healthy. When I was down at Chichen Itza, I didn't go to that one. I didn't get on the bus. I was told to not go by there. Like, you know what I mean? Not to go to that site. Anyway, this point being, what you're talking about is similar to that, okay? And the technology is being used. You brought up sound, so it doesn't disqualify what I was saying. Sound and levitation for moving things. Mm-hmm. Sound technology being used by the intent of the users, of the creators, okay? And all this technology is that being used consciously, conscious technology that you're talking about. And now it's just a matter of what types of beings was doing it. They might have been really miniature, weak, and they made these giants, AI giants. I mean, it kind of sounds that way. And when you keep, because in several of this data, the word fray has come up several times, and frail, and like we're dealing with beings that are somewhat kind of, man, but they got there. And they got, it kind of reminds me real quick before I shut up. There's one of my favorite Star Trek, original Star Treks. It's called, oh gosh, I just know the name of the episode, but it deals with these beings called the Organians. And Kirk and Spock beamed down to this planet because the Klingons have come there, and this planet is like very peaceful. It's kind of primitive. And, there's this council there, and Kirk's in there talking to them. The Klingons saying they're going to put them all in slave. And Kirk's saying, you gotta fight. You got to fight them, And Jessica, the guys on the council, they're looking at them like this. And, kind of tripped out, and some of them are going like that, and others are going up, and finally it comes out. They say they're going to kill so many people here. You've already had people killed. And he looked at me and said, Captain, nobody's died here. Nobody's died in millions of years. And it turns out that they weren't even physical beings. They said, we used to be physical like you, but we evolved beyond that. And they turned into this light. It was cheesy 60s, but I mean, they turned into light. And they said, the old man told him, he said, well, she goes, we've stopped your war. The war you're having on our planet, and also your whole fleets. They've been stopped in space. They've been stopped on your planet. And Kirk started yelling at it. So the Klingon, you have no right to stop our war. You have no right. He said, what? A right to kill millions of people? Is that what you're defending? I mean, but in reality, what you're describing are beings that are on that level. And they disappeared, and Spock's going, oh, they're pure energy. He goes, I think they're about as far ahead of us as we are the amoeba.
Wow. What? Wow, that makes sense.
I mean, so much stuff
really
is
wow.
I
can't believe how many dots you've connected with all of this.
Or I'm just a nutcase.
Well, that's
his own personal experiences. I could be wrong. I'm not an authority on any of this. Okay, I'm not a guru. I'm not even a real cool guy. Well, I'm kind of cool, but not that cool. But it's it's just some of the things, and this you've helped with this. I mean, it's all the work you've done on this, and it's all these different targets. This stuff's being put together on top of what I might know and what I've seen also. And it's cool to see some of the way your remote viewing connects with what I see psychically and spiritually. You know what I mean? It's really interesting, but I didn't expect to see that. And just what we're dealing with, the beings that were the Moai themselves, that was interesting. And who built them, that's just different than what I thought it would be. You know what I mean? And what we're dealing with, these factions that we think would be more beings like us, humanoids of some type, whether it's reptilian or grays or something, not what might almost be micro species and things of that nature. That's what you're talking about, building things that are huge,
well, I mean, humans are pretty small compared to these things too. I mean, look how tiny humans are compared to those. So, I mean, we're like little ant people compared to the giants that walked around this earth, the Titans and stuff. But that's from another show.
About 10 people on each side. You could go like that. You could kind of wobble them though. And after probably a couple of days, it would look like they're walking down the whole valley. You're going to have one exhausted team when it's over. But hey, that's all right. Sorry. I'm just trying to put some levity in it. Because some of the stuff we're told is just preposterous.
It is. It is. It's really wild. It is. And, I had some comments pulled up. I'm sorry. Let's see.
You know what's super cool, Jessica? When you're going over the data, the chat kind of stops. That's really neat. Because otherwise it's going so fast I can't even see it.
It's going fast. Well, everybody in here is connecting dots too. And so Sovereign Cosmic Wildman connected some dots.
Somebody said trifecta real quick. You drew that trifecta. Yes. You've got the sound technology, you've got the intent, and then you've got the gravity modification technology, which might have been a type of a purple light, as you mentioned on there. That's the trifecta. The trifecta they're using to not just construct the material, the statues, but also how to transport them. Sorry, you were saying something. I didn't interrupt. Sorry about that.
No, it's okay. No, speak up. So, because if I don't speak up whenever I have a thought, I forget it. Okay, it's like 2 seconds later. So just blurt it out, Barry. It's okay. Sovereign Cosmic Wildman says, I think I just made a connection. Never, because I did mention something about Neverland, right? Never can mean nether. It's been known that there's a subterranean ether realm at the Cryptid Huntress. Yes, thank you. And Renee has another really cool comment. Sound waves are emitted from a device and reflected back from a concave bottom, creating standing waves. And hold on, got one more. These standing waves have pressure nodes or points where the acoustic pressure is at a minimum. If the pressure at these nodes is strong enough, it can counteract gravity and allow an object to float. Renee's got it figured out. I wonder what your house looks like, Renee. You must live in a monolithic home, I bet. You probably figured this out already. But that's true. That actually lines up with what the Coral Castle data was. When I had remote viewed that a while back, the gentleman who made Coral Castle down in Florida, which is right off the coast, right near, it's like in the Bermuda Triangle almost. Okay. I think it's off I want to say it's on the east coast of Florida. I think Coral Castle, it's like monoliths. It's a whole bunch of really heavy coral. And the gentleman who built it, he did it by himself. Mm-hmm. But it seems impossible. And he what he said, and I think he had some secret occult knowledge. Probably the same stuff that Renee's talking about right here.
Yeah, he had a little black box.
He had something, but he used sound frequencies. And this
Serious. You know that, right?
Okay.
Did you know that?
I don't remember. A black box?
Yeah, they found a black box on his property. It's a black box, or it's a picture of it. A black
Yeah.
box. They think it had something to do with him making that stuff. Sorry, I got too excited
Wow.
because I know you like
Well,
black boxes. I know that.
Yeah, it probably had something to do with the sound frequencies and the energy, the frequency, the vibration. Because he said that if you figure out how the Egyptians built the pyramids, that's how I built my coral castle. Same secrets, he said, the same method. So,
what did I tell you that they told me during this experience? This black box up here was for. It's for the life energy. It's stored in there, and then they used it as a gravity modification field and released it around the shield, the craft of the craft. For what we call, I know anti-gravities that everybody likes that, but really it's gravity modification because some of these craft are riding gravitational waves. Sorry, but I think that gentleman had that secret.
yes. So Renee says the distance between the sound emitter and the reflector must be carefully calibrated to achieve resonance. Okay. Mm-hmm. We're learning all the secrets tonight, aren't we?
That's sound engineering. You know what I mean? There's people who specialize in that. So far out of my, according to my brother, I don't have the best tone thing. So, you know, I finally understood what John Coltrane was trying to say. According to my brother.
Oh yeah. I'm trying to. I'm kind of going through the comments, you guys, because we've got a lot of great comments here. So Renee said, "Yeah, I wonder if that's his house." Do you live at Coral Castle, Renee? That's what your house looks like, probably. I'm just putting it out there.
Somebody said giants may have built the pyramids. Jessica remote viewed that one, and it's on. That's on your channel. Yeah, that's what she saw. She had no idea she's looking at it. What's with all the different giants? What I loved was you had different races of giants. You gotta love that.
Yeah. I actually wrote down. Giants. I did. Well, we picked up on a lot of like the sound frequencies and stuff with that. I mean, those. I mean, you can't really argue with these blind targets. All this data that comes out of it. I mean, it's very similar to this data for this, except there were giants involved. I don't think I picked up on giants on this fourth target, but
you know,
but nonetheless,
I put that up there. I wish I hadn't put that up there because I suspected that what I was reading because it was too heavy. What he's saying. Hey, you know, I'm really interested to wonder what he thinks about the oscillation of certain viruses, especially cancer, and how you had those frequencies that are made by like the Lahovsky oscillator, and how some of these frequencies and the sound frequencies are actually will destroy a tumorous cells, but not the healthy ones, and how that just got completely sequestered. All that type of sound technology and healing technology, I never heard about again. I can't even find it. I wonder what they think about that, because it's like the ablation of viruses through sound ablation. What do you think about that, Renee? Anyway, sorry, that's not even what we're talking about, but just when somebody says something like that, you got that kind of expertise out there, I'm always curious because I like to learn more. Yeah. You know what I mean?
If Renee knows, he'll tell us.
I think it's interesting, though. Anyway, sorry, you were saying something. We were somewhere else, something else.
Yeah. Oh no! The last thing I remember saying was something comparing the technology to the pyramids the Egyptians built. So,
oh yeah, the giants, the multiracial giants. Oh, that was great. That was a great one. I remember you said you're like you text me, Barry. What the hell is it with all the giants?
Yeah, are you talking about with the pyramid one?
Yeah, that was the first thing.
There were a lot of giants.
Before you sent me the data, you said, "What is it with all these giants?" I was like, "Wow, okay, we went straight there." That answers that question. Anyway, sorry.
Yeah, but you have to wonder though, like the giants were just normal sized humans back then, probably, right? I don't know. I seem to think that we're just shrunk.
I don't think so. Not really.
You don't think?
I think you had those that were, you know, you had a gigantic Epicus that was here, Australopithecus, but also I think you had others from other star systems that were bigger than them. You know what I mean? That's when you start getting those genetic things going, those genetic experiments going on when you start getting those people. And, and you had those giants that were here that were the size of the Moai or taller, 25 and up. The Indian talks about that quite a bit. Praveen Moheen, he's done a lot of work about that in those temples. Does some really interesting work.
Renee says they still make them here in America, and
Make
the
what?
chips.
Giants?
The chip. I'm not sure. I don't know. I don't know where we left off on that conversation, but the chips are from Sweden, he says. So I don't know.
The chip.
I don't know. I don't know. That may have been talk. Oh, here we go.
That's just going on my head pretty bad.
Okay. The Rife machine produces low energy electromagnetic waves that are similar to radio waves. Proponents using the device on the body can cure cancer. This is for entertainment purposes only. We are not medical professionals, you two. I have 2 of them. You have a chip specific use.
Yeah, I've got a doctor that uses a Rife machine. I've been on one. No, I'm speaking of sound frequencies that actually do ablation of the cancer cells. Rife machine is not strong enough. And I don't hear about those anymore that actually do the actual oscillation and ablation of the viruses themselves. Seems like that technology was just sequestered, and I think it's something Dr. Boyd Graves had talked about that a lot before he died too. And that's the last person I heard publicly talk about it, and he pretty much got murdered. So anyway, sorry. But yeah, I mean, Rife machines are cool, but this just a little stronger. I like those. I like those spooky machines too. Spooky, you know what I'm talking about?
The spooky machines.
Like Matthew. First time I saw one, Matthew Morning and that guy Adam, whatever his name is, at those conferences had one. A couple of different types, like the spooky machine. It emits different scalar frequencies. They're supposed to be healing frequencies. They're actually pretty cool. Yeah, the spooky machine and the spooky phantom. There's like the little ones, they're bigger ones, and there are even ones like Matthew had, like the 2 cases actually, and you sit between the cases. That's similar to the Hofsky oscillator. Real quick, Renee, because I don't want to go off topic, but when I was younger, I was a teenager, I met someone that had a Hofsky oscillator, and it was just these 2 circular antennas that were attached to some type of a static generator, I think it was. And I sat between that thing like twice. And for that summer, I didn't have any problems with my allergies. I have horrible allergies. I don't need everybody's remedies or anything. I don't need that. But I was saying with that had actually cured my allergies for a while. And there was no way I could actually explain it, with the exception of the guy was saying it bends the electromagnetic fields around your body, the scalar frequencies, to where your body can actually heal without any free radicals during the time you're in the middle sitting there. I always thought it was really interesting, and how the circular antenna was supposed to actually hit every oscillation that the cell needed. Just food for thought,
Yeah. Renee says,
the Hofsky MWO oscillator, what it's called.
Wow.
Yeah, I do too. Never could make one though. I got a couple of those from the Borderline Institute before they shut down. Borderland Sciences. They had all that cool stuff.
Yeah. Okay. Mamie says, ancient aliens did an episode of sound technology, and guess what? It matches each Tartarian cymatic building standstill in time. Also, I knew the Moai heads were built by aliens. Yeah. Interesting. Yeah. I mean, I want to know what the Tartarian Empire, and the sound frequencies and free energy and all that stuff. It's all kind of connected. I wonder how that empire is connected to this. Other than that,
or the empire before that one, which I think was even more advanced, and it goes back so far. It's really a trip. It's so far. Too bad we live on such a concocted world, as far as what we're told historically. I mean, right now, what you're saying, even there, not blown away, but it goes so far against anything, even modern deals. Because right now, Ancient Aliens has finally covered everything I covered on my YouTube channel like 8 years ago. Okay, I mean, they're going to where they're getting really deep into stuff now because they're out of material from the gatekeepers. So now they're starting to talk about mycelium. They're starting to talk about these things that are much more intricate consciousness and wider perspectives on that, which is cool. Whatever it takes to wake people up, we don't have a lot of time left here.
Yeah.
I mean, as stewards of this planet. Oops. So you got a lot of genius people in your group, man. That's great. You got sound engineers, you got all sorts of stuff in there, man. It's quantum physicists and everything else. That's cool.
We got people that know about underground bases and building domes in here too. I'm just saying, I'm not going to call anybody out. But
well, that's why it's really risky. That's why it's really risky when some brothers come out and say, I'm an expert on scripturals and I'm everything ancient text, an expert, world leading expert. And then somebody come out of the woodwork and burn me up.
Oh, no.
I mean, seriously, you know what I mean? That's like that happened to somebody we're all aware of. And I mean, they got burned so bad, I almost felt sorry for them. But that happens when you go out of your lane too much,
Listen, I always start. I don't mind saying I don't know nothing about nothing. Okay, I'm just channeling some data here. We're putting out remote viewing data with blind target, so I'm no expert on any of this either.
Job,
so
you do a really good job. You stay objective too, which is cool. That makes it fun, though. You know what I mean?
Well, I have a really good tasker who gives me some really good blind targets. Okay, so that's. It really helps to have someone like you who has so much knowledge on all these crazy topics that knows to give me these targets. Okay. I mean, it's mind blowing. Yeah. So it's teamwork. Teamwork makes the dream work. For sure.
I was looking at the one about the sound frequency. The last one. Hey, thanks, a little twisted. Well, can you put the other one up again? Instead of musician,
let's see. The last one that I just had?
Was it Kira or somebody was?
Let's see. I'm not sure. We got another one from Renee here. It's the great hide the world powers have to be in control of everything, but we are in the middle of the great awakening. Yes, that's why we're all here tonight. We are awakening the masses, and I'm getting awoken myself.
I have an older brother, and he's had some experiences too. They're not like mine, but he's a musician, and his experiences have involved musicians and sound.
Mm-hmm.
And he was shown that was a type of a belt that was made of a material that's obviously not found here, but it produced these sounds that is like nothing he's heard here on Earth. And these sounds actually called in light ships, and the light ships started responding with similar sounds. Yeah. And he was playing with these musicians when he figured out what was going on. You know what I mean? He's having these things that are like really third dimensional that was happening to him, but it's different. Interesting how they use music to connect with him. So sound is a big part of this. And I mean, and I've always known that, but I just got, him shoving jazz down my throat for most of my youth, though, gave me a certain understanding and apprehension towards music. But it's really fascinating. We start dealing with civilizations that are into the sound and into music in all different ways of communication and controlling matter,
Okay. I have to bring two things up. All right. There are videos online. There's a gentleman who is out in the woods, and he starts throat singing, where he does this weird vibrational throat noise, like a song. It sounds like a didgeridoo kind of. And all of a sudden, all these creatures and cryptids and critters start showing up in the woods behind him. And it looks like Bigfoot. Okay. Some kind of like bipedal, large, hairy creature starts showing up. And, okay, so there's that. Let's just say that there's a potential of opening a portal with sound frequencies as well, right? We hear about the dangers of doing things like using some researchers recently have been bragging or talking about how they'll go into the places that have dogman sightings and they will play a shofar. I do not recommend doing that. Okay, do not recommend it. But you hit certain notes. They say you hit certain notes on it, it opens a portal. Okay, you don't know what's going to come through that portal. Unless you know how to shut that thing down, I don't recommend doing that.
Like that doorway, Remora, whatever it's called. Yeah, they're supposed to be the same thing like that. There's an instance, and how it's interesting how this came up for me. Spirit hits me with omens. All right, this was one night I go down to hear my oldest brother playing at the cigar bar, and my other brother shows up. Now they're all much older than me, okay? And when I show up, my other brother was there. He never comes out anymore. But he's sitting there with this Caucasian gentleman. And this Caucasian gentleman is like kind of tall. My brother stands 6'6.5", and this cat had to be about 6'5", 6'5.5". And they're just sitting there chopping it up, And I went up talking to this guy, and he says he does like satellite stuff or something, and goes traveling all over the place. And Jessica, he says he went through spent a little bit of time in Paris, Texas. That's where they have those Sasquatch inhabitations. So I asked this guy, I said, hey, what do you think about Sasquatch? I asked him, been through Paris. He said he hadn't. And I was asking what he thought about Sasquatch. He started, that's not stuff you should just say. You're sitting there with somebody. But I'm weird, And he looks at me and said, why would you ask me something like that? And I told him why. And then he starts saying this. He says, man, you should go to my parents' place. It's real active with all that stuff. And the stuff happens there I can't explain. I've had some levitating rocks, and it's got that Sasquatch, the Bigfoot things are out there. And he's looking at me, he says, my parents actually own this property. It's in Arkansas, and it's a mine, and it's a crystal mine, and they bought it, and it's all this stuff goes on there. And immediately I started thinking, this is at the time of the very first Journey to Truth conference. And I have been watching and communicating with, it was either Tyler or Aaron about one of them, because I've been watching the thing. They put out a video long before that. And it was called Sasquatch or Bigfoot Crystals Oh My. And they were at that mine interviewing this guy and his wife. And they said that there were like Sasquatch throwing hot crystals towards the stage they were sitting on. And so this guy's talking to me, and I just pulled up this interview, Journey to Truth, with this guy. And I said, man, is this your dad? And he says, yes. and it got really crazy from there on out. You know what I mean? Actually, they sent me a friend request on Facebook. I chopped it up with this guy for a long time. He was telling all the crazy. He said, I believe in all that stuff, but there's stuff that happens out there I can't explain. And he showed me these rocks levitating. And he had a phone recording, kind of like a Matthew Delph type thing. You just got accepted it. And I guess it is what it is. But anyway, I just thought that's interesting when dealing with that. And that kind of ties in a little bit as far as areas and sound technology and all that. And sorry. The reason why I brought that up, his dad had told a story, and I was watching it earlier, probably the day before or something. He said that when he first had a Sasquatch experience, that the Native Americans in the area in that city came and got him, and they formed like a line, 2 lines, and had him walk down the middle of the line and then stand with one of them, and they're doing this type of a chanting. And then this huge Sasquatch, he calls it the Alpha, his friend, comes up from the thing and walks through the middle. And he says the Native Americans will never turn their head and look, but they're all back with their backs to it, and it walks through the middle. So he called that his Sasquatch. He said it was like a 10-footer or something. Okay, but they called him with this type of a tone. And I've mentioned before when I was at the Ascetti Ranch, I was hearing this. I can't sleep at night at about 5 a.m. just before the sun comes up, hearing that chanting. And I thought it's coming off the land. Maybe clairaudience isn't my greatest gift. It must be coming off the land. But later I heard Scott Nelson and others talking about hearing protective prayers around human habitations from Sasquatch. They don't know if they're saying protective prayer for the humans or for them. But either way, it's very interesting, don't you think? Sorry, I didn't mean to talk so much.
I do. Edgar was wondering if Barry goes Bigfooting. You have experienced Bigfoot, right?
Man, I was just going to speak at that crazy ranch out there. I got to be honest. I've had all this crazy extraterrestrial stuff happen, interdimensionals, whatever, ghosts. But I wasn't sure if Bigfoot really existed. Based on some friends I've had that are like you, that go out hiking all over the place, some of them alone, which you're not supposed to do. But they I don't believe that they say they've seen Fae, but they didn't think maybe Sasquatch could exist. And so I had a little bit of skepticism till I went out to that ranch. No more now. When people say that they have stuff like that going on, hey, that works for me. So I've never actually been squatching, but they impending on my life. They made sure I was aware of them one way or another. I got nothing but respect for that. So
yeah, there was Moondog Davis says the Pope opened the gate to hell under the Vatican. Now I'm not sure what kind of portal was open, but there was some kind of like 5 portals or 5 doors to a portal or something. I don't know. Some kind of portal was supposed to be opened. I think it was yesterday.
Does anybody know how he's going to do it? Is are they going to chant it? Do they have technology? Do they have a device down there? I was wondering, does anybody know how he's supposed to do it?
I don't know.
They stole so much stuff.
His magic wand, maybe? Probably the magic wand. And portal device, I don't know.
No, I see he's really got a wand, man.
His magician's hat, just a little pointy cap. I mean, I don't know. I mean, there's like, I found it really interesting. Caleb Jade had left a comment and said there's a fine line between a musician and a magician. And that's true. I am seeing that more and more. I'm realizing that more and more now too. Just because, the sound frequencies are something that are utilized in, I'm just going to go ahead and say like MK Ultra mind control. Okay. And how they changed the megahertz to keep us like irritable and stuff. I mean, I know this is a whole other topic. I mean, I just saw a post earlier today showing all these bells that had been confiscated, and like bells aren't supposed to be used anymore because it's too healing for us humans. They want to keep us in, chaos and not feeling good, I guess. So, anyways, Arkeem's here. Hey, Arkeem.
When I was younger, man, in our neighborhood, there was like one neighborhood over, there was this old woman's house, and she had this huge, like a cathedral bell in the front yard. And people get all tore up on Friday and Saturday night, go ring that bell, man, and just wake up that whole neighborhood. It was horrible. Horrible. I did it several times, and we all did it, man, especially around about 14, 15. Have a couple of beers, go ring the bell,
Oh man,
it wasn't healing for that neighborhood, I promise you.
Oh man, well, in my hometown, when I'm hanging out in my hometown, the churches around town, there's at least one church downtown that still rings their bells every 15 minutes. Okay, you can hear the bells ringing, but here's the thing, like it's not like a natural bell, like a brass bell. It's a recording, and it's really shrill, and it's not very pleasant to listen to. It's like a recording of a bell. So it's like, what's the purpose of that? Okay, it's corrupted, right, Barry? Like how everything they have something that's like nice and good and healthy for us, and then somebody takes it and corrupts it and makes it not so good for us. Look, it's like the generic version.
Where I grew up, it's been pointed out that there is a church on literally almost every block. I know somebody from another country came and they said, I've never seen so many churches in one city in my entire life. That's, right by where I grew up is where the abortion guy got shot. And there's like 3 churches right by that. He got shot in the church. There's a church right across the street and on the other side of the street too. And there's these huge cathedrals. Yeah. What's really interesting? When dealing with the death process, you have what's called, where we go to after the repository of God, we go to these things that can be called the mansion worlds, is what the Aranta book calls them. The Tibetans called them the bardo, okay? But these different levels after death. But that first level, that first mansion world, is often described as being these crystal palaces there. And the first was this huge crystal palace. My brothers had an encounter. He saw one of those, a few of them. Somebody else that talks about that is the guy that rushed me. He was speaking after me at the Conscious Life Expo in 2020, Daniel Brinkley, and he came up and we talked for a minute. And he's one of those people that he saw one of those crystal palaces too. And the Uranta book describes it on the first mansion worlds, a type of a crystal palace. And people that experience this during their NDE say they understand where these cathedrals, the ideas of them come from, the beauty of them anyway. You know what I mean? Just food for thought again. I'll throw that out. Sorry, I know we're supposed to be talking about only Moai, but I think that's what's cool about when we do these shows. We do go over a lot of stuff, and you killed it on the data, my friend. You got through all the.
Thank you.
Did you get all the data on each one of them?
Yeah, all the data's done. Yeah, we have gone over all the data for all 4 of the targets. It's actually the same target, but it's from different angles. Stuff. So
yeah,
you did a great job of tasking those, actually.
Well, thanks. You did a better job. I wanted there to be not a lot of space for fantasy or for speculation. I want to try to address as much as we could for that, because I don't think it's been ever thoroughly done. And when you start really looking into the legend of the Moai, it's so nebulous. You know what I mean? It's very nebulous, and I'm so curious. And when you start, let me throw that out there. Okay, sorry. In two of those data cults, Saturn came up a few times, and that brings me to think of something. Okay, which is that interview that Norman Bergen did with Carrie Cassidy, who I've never met. Just heads up to her. If you want to talk to somebody who's melanin dominant, you can talk to me, because you're not doing very good with the Black population. They don't contactees. They don't like you much. They think you try to sequester what went on. I'll talk to you anyway. So point being, she did an interview with Norman Bergen. I was guided to his book when I was in like the 5th grade at the library, and it's a book called The Ring Makers of Saturn. It was kind of hard for me to understand then, because it deals with a lot of telemetry, but he's saying that actually there are these rings that both either construct or are harnessing the rings of Saturn. I have some pictures of them. They're like these miles and miles long ships out there. Okay, these huge things. And then he talked in that interview with Carrie Cassidy about this naval shipyard. A craft came down to this naval shipyard, and these very tall Black people got off of it, like 8 feet tall. And she's like, do you mean brown? And he's like, no, they were black. Anyway, just when you're bringing that up, Saturn coming out, a lot of people want to correlate that. At no point did I hear him say that those big brothers came from Saturn, but that's been correlated a lot to Black Saturn cube and these tall brothers and things. And when I was a kid, my brother had a record by this brother named Sun Ra. And Sun Ra was called Space is the Place. He said he was from Saturn. He used to come out on stage with this hat with all these balls on it. I think I've talked about that here before, but he said that those were there were a bunch of moons from Saturn that weren't found yet. And he was from one of these moons. He was right about that. I think Saturn has, 30 some moons? Or is it more than that? It's got a ton of moons.
Yeah, I didn't know that. I've never heard that before about Saturn. That had so many moons.
Yes. Sun Ra. Somebody knows what I'm talking about out there. Yeah. I'm gonna ask Google real quick. How many does?
Okay, Barry. Why
does Saturn have? Sorry. What were you gonna say?
Ace Banner has a question for you. Was that similar to the Crystal Palace in Red Sonja or Conan?
Oh man, you messed me up. Red Sonja. Man, that's been a long time even for me. I was trying to check out some Brigitte Nielsen back then because I liked her from she's Ivan Drago's wife. That's about the 2 best gigs she had. That stuff she's doing with Flavor Flav, where they have the chicken down there where you live. They got the chicken place, don't they? They did. And they called it, she said, Fifi. Oh, that's a terrible, terrible show. Anyway, I got to be honest. I'm not sure if that one's on there or not. But there was a Crystal Palace. Was it maybe on that movie the Dark Crystal. Was it that one? Maybe.
Yeah, it could have been. It sounds familiar.
So I can't answer that. As much as I can normally do movie stuff, he got me on that one. Conan. Oh, Conan. Is that the one where they're having the fight with the ape thing in there? Yeah, probably something like that. Yeah, probably a little more peaceful though. Maybe a little more, spiritual than that. No ape men walking around in there.
Yeah. We have Renee and Rocky Mountain Skywatcher both say 146 moons orbiting Saturn. Good grief. That's a lot of moons.
Mm-hmm. Jupiter has a bunch too, but not as many as Mars or as Saturn. And you've got, like I said, Sunross said he came from one of those moons, but people laughed at him. And he taught, you know what else he talked about? A galactic federation too. Yeah.
Did you see my message last night when I was waiting for you to tell me what the target was? I said, "Is this the Galactic Federation?" I was kidding. I thought that was absolutely funny.
You can't say they're not affiliated. That's one of those targets there. I had to deal with that. I couldn't believe you were putting that in the data. Galactic Federation. I mean, not that I have a problem with them, but it's just the name. It seems like such a Star Trek ripoff that I've always laughed at it. You know what I mean? It's not that it doesn't exist, but it just seems like such a Gene Roddenberry ripoff. Then I got the name for the alliance I dealt with, and it was even more ridiculous. So I stopped laughing at that point. Something like a cold splash in the water.
Yeah, okay. Let's see.
High DNA into what?
Okay. Renee says sounds can also be converted into audible frequencies for humans to hear, often described as whistles or squeaks. How cool is that? Saturn has a soothing voice.
Yeah. The colliding black holes also produce a type of a squeaking sound they found. I found that very interesting. The colliding black holes, when they collide and make a massive black hole, they produce a sound. Yeah. Like the device that my brother was trying to find something that makes sounds that are somewhat similar to what he heard this belt making, this device. He found out there was sort of a theremin device. It's like, I think it's handless instrument, a theremin, THEREMIN. It's similar to that, and they have this band of frequencies that are in certain level of our atmosphere. God, what do they call them? Not cosmic sounds, cosmic. My brother knows. He'll jump on me for not knowing, but he could quote it out real easy. But it's just different frequency and these sounds that are almost unheard for us here, a different frequency. Kind of like you have something called quad pole light. Quad pole light is only perceivable by the pineal gland. Like when I had that experience with that morphing holographic mountain thing, I was seeing quad pole light of some type.
Wow. I want to know why the moon rings like a bell. But that's not something I'm not willing to remote view that.
Well, I'll tell you what, when I don't want to mention this name because people get mad. I'm just saying I believe everything the cat said, but the cat talked me to death. And I asked hella questions. Corey Good, he said that he'd been inside the moon and he with these beings, and he said there were these tunnels, these catacombs that go to the center of the moon, and there's this huge type of computer in there, some type of AI computer that is recording all the activity happening on Earth right now. That's what it's there for. And I was listening, okay, whatever you say. And then I get in that separate thing. He's done gone. And I'm sitting there with John Vivinco, and that's on my channel under interviews. And we're talking about all this stuff. And he mentioned, like you, that he got in trouble for looking at the moon. He said somebody came to his house or something or talked to him about it. Don't do it again. And but on that video, I said, okay, sorry that happened to you. But what the hell did you see? What'd you find out? And he said right there, he said, man, it's a lot like what Corey was saying down there. He said there's this thing in the middle, these catacombs that go down into the middle. And he said like what some others said, that the beings here saw him when he was remote viewing him. They were looking at him. He caught their attention that they could see him. He's not the first person I've heard say that. I think Ingo said that too, didn't he? Or are we not supposed to be talking about this? It's entertainment purposes only, so it doesn't really matter, right? Yeah.
We're going to talk about what Ingo says. I actually have Penetration right here on my bookshelf behind me.
Have you read it yet, Jones? You read it?
Yeah. I've read most of it. I have.
Hey, what do you think about the lady in the store?
I don't know. It's like a Matrix or something. I don't know.
Where do you think she was from?
I don't know. She's. I don't remember. I don't know. Maybe another planet. Was she supposed to be from Venus or something?
The men in black told him that she was dangerous. Remember?
Oh
Because
yeah. I
he
don't know.
thought they were in there. He thought
I
they
have
were
to
in
go
there
back
watching
and read
within
that.
the store watching him, but they were in there watching her.
Oh.
Yeah, yeah.
Maybe she was just a starshade. Maybe she was just a remote viewer or starshade from another
I don't think
universe.
she's remote viewing in there. She's in there getting. We know what they see. At least she wasn't a total carnivore. She's in there getting some vegetables, so that's one good sign at
She
least.
wouldn't eat everybody.
Yeah, but she sounded like she was half AI to me, some type of a cyborg. The way he described her, she sounded
Kind
like a
of
cyborg.
like these Moai of Easter Island might have been
What?
cyborgs.
I mean,
Yeah.
that's what your data shows. And it sounds so weird because you wouldn't think of it. You got these brothers with these real long lobes and everything. And you wouldn't think, hey, okay, those are half AI people. But what would a cyborg actually look like? The only representation we have is what? Brent Spiner's data? That's not very good. Sorry, clay makeup. That's not a very good representation of a cyborg. I think it would be more like the black hole. You might know. I know you like movies, but the black hole had a whole ship of cats that were cyborgs that the guy had turned into robots. Maximilian, yeah. Anyway, sorry.
Renee says that the moon is a probe that monitors Earth.
That's what
And
everyone
I've heard
says.
that.
That's quite common theory.
That's
But
maybe so. That's no moon. It's a spaceship.
like I remember in past life memories seeing 2 moons on this planet. So it made me look to what happened to the other one. Part of the cataclysm. It's one of the floods that happened here. Yeah. Anyway, that's another story.
Yeah, they say that's Sovereign says that they hauled it in. There was no moon here in the past. And I've heard that.
There was 2 moons here.
Well, now we have 2 moons.
Supposedly one is tractored in here. I mean, we got to remember there's none of that proved, okay? That's strictly theory. And the theory is that, okay, that you had a war between Mu and Atlantis. And what happened was that they had a type of a tractor beam, a stasis beam that they shot up towards one of these moons. And it was supposed to actually crush it, bring it in, and rain it down on like Atlantis or on Lemuria, whichever one it was doing it. And what happened is these heated fragments destroyed the firmament when they started coming in. So it didn't just not rain on the right part, it destroyed the firmament. And that's one of the floods we had. Now, I've been hearing that story from Black Knowledge at the Black Bookstore since I was a teenager. I first read that, and I want to think it was the Urugu book. It might not have been, but one of those books. That's the first time I'd ever heard that about there being 2. But I had a memory of there being 2 moons here. But I think that maybe it's not the right lifetime or on this planet I'm looking at. But there's 2 moons here.
Yeah.
And the rumor is one of them was artificial.
Oh. Yeah, and then we get these reports that there's 2 moons right now. And my son the other night was like, Mom, why are there not 2 moons? We're supposed to have 2 moons right now. I've been looking for the second moon. I'm like, I don't know. Maybe we just switch timelines again. I don't know.
Well, it's that object that floated in and it's supposed to disembark soon or something, right?
Yeah.
There's a number of near Earth objects that don't get much attention. VG 1991, that's a big one. SKG 244 is SKG 344. Those are near Earth objects that people don't talk about. And if you want to talk about something like what the Black Knight might be, a Bracewell probe, or as some people in your audience will know, a self-replicating and self-repairing Bracewell probe from another solar system or dimension that's waiting for us to become a Type 1 civilization and then initiates contact with us to put us in the galactic thing. That's what 2001 is really about. Before Hal freaked out, the AI in there, that's the first time. That's the first movie AI screwed some people over right there his own Hal. I did. Open up the hatch, Hal. I can't do that. He said, I heard you. You tried to turn off the thing, but I read lips. You're trying to deactivate me. I can't let you do that. Anyway. I mean, seriously, it's so fascinating. As someone had told me, they said, that the Night Industries 2000 was actually the first Cylon. And those are all Glenn Larson productions. And if you think about it, Kit had the red sensor, the Cylons had the red sensor. Okay, it works for me, I guess.
Very interesting stuff here. I'm just going through the chat, looking at all the messages, and
yeah, no, I'm talking to myself.
No, I'm listening to you too over here.
What was I talking about? Knight Rider? You didn't know that.
No.
I'm just kidding.
We can start talking about movies. I don't know. I'm not a movie buff or a TV buff at all. I don't even watch TV anymore. So
no, you're like a normal person. Probably good.
I'm a normal person. No, I'm just stupid. Yeah.
As somebody very genius said, they never watch TV because it's the dead entertaining the living. And at a certain point, you see that is quite true when you watch it. Especially watch the classics. Ain't none of them cats alive, I promise you. Even the original Star Trek, none of them are alive but Shatner, right? And Sulu. Anyway.
I don't know. You talking about William Shatner from...
Oh, gosh, yeah. Yeah. Not a big fan anymore. Anyway, so check it out. So I have a question concerning back to the Moai. So, do you think they're still alive?
Do I think that the Moai? I don't. They're underground. I mean, there's a whole lot of underground data here. Do you mean the actual structures? Do I think they're alive?
The statues themselves.
The statues? Oh my God!
Is that another
That's
reason
an
they were
interesting
broken?
question.
Another reason they were broken? To stop their ability to reanimate?
Well, what about, a thought comes to mind. What about the ancient Egyptian, like the Sphinx statues and stuff? I mean, those were all broken and stuff too at some point, right? A lot of them, their faces were blown off, and
we're always taught that they crumpled the nose of the Sphinx because it was very African, and they didn't want anyone to know that. But since then, I have heard something different. Is that they have evidence that almost shows that the original head of the Sphinx was an Anubis head. Have you ever heard that?
Whoa.
I've even seen it put on there. They're putting the dimensions on there. They're saying the initial head was not lion, it was Anubis. I think that's interesting, don't you?
It would
I don't know
be
if it's true or
interesting.
not, but it was, in fact, I think it was one of the newer Ancient Aliens was showing that, actually. Or maybe Unexplained Mysteries, one of those shows.
I mean, I've heard all sorts of different theories about it. I have heard the Anubis part. I have heard Anubis. But I don't know. I don't know if these things were reanimated. I mean, listen, we've got cartoons, children's cartoons like Moana, right? And there was a sleeping lady, the sleeping woman who was like the island, who was like a mountain. We talk about the sleeping giants, the titans, the petrified giants all over the world. And in that cartoon, I believe that sleeping lady came back to life, right? So I don't know, is that soft disclosure? Are these giants about to reawaken? I mean, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. This world is so weird. I mean, is that petrified dragon going to come back to life in Alabama? I don't know. That'd be kind of cool. I'll go catch a ride.
7. Man, what an interesting question. I can't believe you put that out there. What's up, Ace? Man, I got to be honest. I didn't know they're actually going to do a reboot of Buck Rogers. Now, I'll give you a little fun story real quick. About 3 years ago, I go down to the Comic-Con in my city, and there are actually not many people at the time I went. It was on a Sunday. And I wind up going over, and I'm standing there talking. He actually engaged me. Gil Gerard and the little robot Tweaky was there, but he wasn't in suit, but he's little, condoplasian midget. But Gil Gerardi started talking me to death. It was so weird because this guy was standing next to me and was trying to take a picture of me. He's like, hey, you got to pay for that. It's like 40, 50 bucks or whatever. He said, oh, I'm sorry. Let me go get my wife and I'll come back and get it. And he walks off and Gil looks at me. He goes, that tight SOB's not coming back. And I started laughing. I said, hey, man, I'm not going to get a picture either, man. And he said, I know you're not. You don't look like the type. And he just started talking to me. And he started saying, my favorite dish ever that I've had was in Houston. My friend took me to little Chinatown there, and I had chicken feet. And at that time, the little tweaky guy, the little Felix or whatever his name is, he stopped signing autographs and comes over. And he goes, what the hell are you talking about, Gil? And he said, I don't want you guys judging me. My friend took me down there, and I got this chicken foot, and it came out. It was on there, but underneath was the meat. It was like an absolute delicacy. And I was sitting there talking to this guy. I was tripping like, man, I'm talking to Buck Rogers. He's kind of old. But hey, it was cool. So I'll watch the reboot. I go far back as Buster Crabbe, so I'll watch it. Only on your show would somebody ask me about a Buck Rogers reboot. How cool is that?
Linez Lee has a really interesting point here because I saw this too. This is on is that on Mud Fossil University? I think I'm pretty sure that's where I saw that. Recently shows an arrow shot down into the head of the Sphinx. Of course, he explains it better. I saw that too.
Really?
Yes, it's like a giant arrow. Yeah. It just makes you wonder. That's why when you're asking me, do I think they're alive or they're going to come back to life? I'm like, well, the thought came into my mind of like the Sphinx maybe coming back to life or something. I mean, I don't think they will, but I'm just saying, I don't know.
Well,
I mean, we have all these petrified giants everywhere.
I guess it would matter what their organic component was, which probably couldn't be reanimated, I wouldn't think, unless it was like a silicon or something like that. You know what I mean? What is the organic component of them? But what you were saying, your data shows there's like a fungal component almost, a mycelium component, which then again takes different to like what they would look like without that formation of the statue. What would they actually be like in their natural form? Would they be like fungus? Sentient fungus? Food for thought? Yeah. I don't know.
Could be. Re-indigenizing minds.
Trying to stop a hostile fungus. Is that what we were dealing with? It almost sounds like that.
I was picking up something like that in the data for these. Re-indigenizing mind says there's a Sphinx at Pyramid Lake in Nevada too. And Pyramid Lake is something that I've actually remote viewed that lake. I did some remote viewing on that because I think that's where they have the spiteful mermaid and the water babies. I'm not mistaken. That's over in Nevada, near where Brian lived. Brian's saying, not too far from Reno, actually, Winnemucca or something.
You know, there was a gentleman by the name of Robert Ghost Wolf, not Robert Morningsky, but Robert Ghost Wolf. Pretty sure he's dead, but he had talked about another Sphinx and where was it? Another Sphinx and pyramids, and he would take people way up there, and there were a few pictures of it. They look eroded and corroded, but they say people that went up there said they do look like that, and that the UFOs flying in and out around those structures is just incredible. Was it Ohio? It was somewhere not common. Montana was somewhere that he was taking people. Robert Ghostwolf, so somebody could look that up. And the other Sphinx. He first announced it on Art Bell when he was on there the first time, which was probably before 2000, definitely. Food for thought again. But there's pictures of him around those structures somewhere. I've seen them. So.
Yeah, Ace is asking, Jessica, when you say giant arrow, do you mean shot by a giant? I guess so. If it was a giant arrow, it's probably had to be shot by something that could hold it in its hands.
Is it a hole or is it, what is it? I don't understand. Is this some sort of hole is it X-rayed or I don't understand?
It looked like an actual arrow was inside the head of the Sphinx, is what it looked like, according to him. And I don't know. I'll have to go back and watch that because I do remember seeing that. I do remember seeing it. And I thought, okay, well, that's interesting. You know, it's really interesting. I don't know. I like to, you know, see what everybody's talking about. I love hearing other people's research on these things, and he does some deep dives on this stuff. So Troy in Tennessee is here. Hey, Troy, what's up? It says, how much do imagination and openness have to do with the remote viewing? See, I'm just getting data when it comes down. I'm just psychically channeling data. So, yeah, I mean, I have a pretty open mind. I have a pretty good imagination, too, but it's just I'm getting data. So, I don't know. It's a little different. I'm not just making this stuff up. I'm channeling it. So, all right, let's see. This has been a fantastic chat.
Yes, in channeling, we got to be honest, all right? Channeling, people already are skeptical enough about Bigfoot and mind speak. Well, you don't know most of these channelers don't know what they're really channeling. You know, I mean, maybe not all, but a lot of them really don't. And so, I mean, so that's why I take a lot of channeling with a grain of salt. And it scares me to see how much literally religions are being formed around channeling right now. You know, I'm not putting down channeling. I'm just saying that not everybody's either good at it or knows who or what they're talking to without evidence of it.
Yeah. Oh, okay. So yes, I think Roger mentioned a giant might have shot the arrow. And that's from Linez Lee. So yes. And Caleb says, have you ever remote viewed the meteor crater in Arizona? No. I have not, but that sounds like a good one to put on the list, because if you're bringing it up, it probably deserves some remote viewing, Caleb. So thank you.
That's where Starman came from. That's where Starman returned his people. He was supposed to be from Aldebaran.
Really?
The movie Starman. He returned. The ship came back for him that looked a lot like Saturn. Came back for him at that great crater in Arizona.
No way.
Good movie. Good movie.
Wow. Very interesting. Okay. Well,
oh, hey, you know, Lord Hanneman was a giant too. He was supposed to be somewhat Sasquatch-like, but more monkey-like.
Oh yeah, that's right. That's out of India, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I still think those giant footprints are quite interesting. The ones that aren't proved fakes, the others are kind of interesting.
Yeah. Yeah. Caleb says that it's worth looking into. So okay, we'll definitely put that in the list of remote viewing targets. And man, this has been a wonderful show tonight, Barry.
If I had $1 for
every
suggested target I get for you, people are emailing me targets for you. It's like, man, am I still a person? I mean, if I had $1 for each one, I have a full tank of gas, just like that.
Right.
It's all right. It's cool that people are listening. I think it's neat. So
it's cool. Well, people have everybody that's watching the shows. We all just have a thirst or a hunger for to learn about these mysterious things in the world that we're not getting any answers to. We're just the truth has been hidden from us for so long on a lot of this stuff. And so Renee, I'm glad that you were able to be here too. And so I hope you have a good night, and please come back and see us. You always have great input, along with the whole chat has great input, everybody. And so I want to thank everybody for being here today for sure. Man, I think
geniuses and world travelers.
Yeah, I think we can kind of look at these, the Moai, if that's how you pronounce it, the Moai. We can all look at these statues of the Easter Island a little differently now, knowing there's something more to them. Okay, something more to it. And I hope we answer some questions tonight. If anybody had questions about what these things are.
There's some answered questions, but it's pretty far out, Jessica.
Yeah.
I mean, for me, no, I'm not doubting it, but it's just far out. It's not what I expected to come out of it. Organic AI bots that are doing some type of Stonehenge star charting. That is what it is. So I guess I have to accept and roll with it. You know, partial of what I had thought of it being a penal colony. Part of that might be true, but a penal colony for what? Black goo? And that's almost what it sounds like. I mean, and it's like that, you know. But when you start dealing with these type of different sentient species, even dimensional, some of them, who knows? All bets are kind of off, you know?
Yeah. They're not just some carved out stones that are out there to look pretty. Okay. Or some kind, I think it's more than just monuments protecting the island. There's more to it. There's definitely more
And they
to
were
it.
created under an advanced underground system that probably is still there now, I would imagine. Someone
Yeah.
had mentioned
Yeah.
the lava tubes under there. Real
Well,
interesting, you know.
did you? It seems like you mentioned High Brazil too. When we were texting about this earlier. What was the connection with High Brazil?
You know, it was just more just that just I was looking just I had visions about that too, and it being a ship and not actually being an island. That's why it's there only 7 years when it does that. Just how your data backed it up. That was the only thing I was saying there because I don't believe that's not a mystery. That's not a phantom island there, but I think it's the remnant of Mu, just like they say, or Hivira or Hira, as they called it. Yeah.
Yeah. Troy, that's so funny that you bring this up because I was going through some pictures on my computer today and I saw that chili you made. I think it was the chili or something. I don't know. I met Troy at the East Tennessee Squash Out, and I don't know. Was it Troy? Were you the one asking? Somebody in the chat tonight was asking if I could remote view Oak Ridge Labs. I saw that. That's another one. They've got that ionic Large Hadron Collider down there, and so yeah, that's interesting. But I have actually done some remote viewing of East Tennessee. I'm going to be going to East Tennessee here pretty soon. Undisclosed location, okay, but with some pretty awesome Bigfoot and Dogman researchers. We're going to be out there doing some research. So y'all stay tuned. 2025 is going to be mighty exciting, mighty exciting. So yeah, but yeah,
Well, I
thanks
was
for
curious,
cooking for us.
what is all the talk
Troy.
about enchiladas and burritos and tamales? I keep every time I look over the chat, I'm seeing stuff about like Mexican food. What's going on? Is it like
I actually had Mexican food for dinner at the. I'm not gonna say where I ate. It was so good though. It was so good. I had some carne asada tacos tonight. Oh, that's why I'm so tired because I ate so much. I ate so much steak before I went live on air tonight.
you know?
And my taco.
I had a big old bottle of a big old thing of pho, a seafood pho. Actually,
Uh,
before I came
yes.
back to do this, yeah, I was worried I wouldn't be able to stay up. I was like 20 pounds heavier, man.
Oh
Foamed
man, well, I
out.
ate so much food over Christmas. I know. I should have eaten leftovers, but I had leftovers from Christmas for breakfast and lunch. So I was like, well, maybe we'll just go stop by and get some tacos on the way home tonight. So yeah, tis the season to eat too much. Okay, that's what this is, and it's all good. It's all good.
Either goes
Yeah.
again. I just glanced over there. There it is. Somebody talking about some tortillas and somebody else sour cream and tamales. Like, man, you're trying to make me eat
Well,
again.
I'm
I was already
hungry.
full. I'll be hungry again when I get off here, man.
Yeah.
I'll be thinking about AI bots, Moai,
Yeah.
fungus, ground
Carne
distillers.
asada.
Yeah, wars
It's the
between
tortillas.
micro species. Yeah, this is oh wow, man. How cool, how fun this was, you know? And we can
It
say that
was.
these are definitely different than the Olmecs. You know, this is a different situation here. That the Maui or something, Maui or Moe, sorry, Moa, Moa is something different than those. That's that's cool. And
Yeah.
I'll say again, there's an Olmec and Mars connection.
Yeah.
And I
You
believe
think
that
so?
face of
Yeah.
Mars, yes, I believe the face of Mars you're looking at is an Olmec face.
Yeah. It
Mm-hmm.
does look like an Olmec mask. One of those statues. It does.
Mm-hmm.
There's a
Mm-hmm.
connection there. There's a connection there.
You know,
Wow.
Mars gets so interesting because if I read the community and read experiencers too, there's like everything on Mars there could be, it seems like. You've got several different types of insectoid types. You've got like the lady I've dealt with, Charlene Wallace and her sister Erlene Wallace. They said they've been to Mars and that there are black people there that were grays, little grays, but not grays. They're dark black, you know. And I believe where are those supposed to come from? Not Beetlejuice. Beta Sovereign or sorry. Anyway, but when you get in our entertainment like Marvin the Martian,
Yeah.
You don't see how he looks. He's
Well,
super
the helmet.
melanated. Yeah, but he's
Yeah.
melanated. He's super melanated. But they say that's where little things like that are coming from. And then suppose we've got Olmecs there also. All these things that have been present on Mars, especially before its destruction. And I've had some clients now that remember having it. It's always a trip when you go a past life regression, and the life before that they remember is not here on Earth. It's somewhere else, or on Mars, or somewhere that they can't describe, underground installation, being insects or whatever it might be. It's endless. It's really
I mean,
endless the way some of us are incarnated. Yeah, it's kind of a trip.
I know. I do have memories of living off planet
Mm-hmm.
myself. And I've not had I mean, well, we won't go there. I do have memories. I think I lived on Mars actually at some point.
Mm-hmm.
So
You're,
I think that maybe that's why I'm here right now. I'm just saying, I don't know for sure, but it might be.
Did you ever think that some of the encounters you have might be people beings you've known before?
Oh yeah, we came here together, some of us. Yeah.
Hey, before we get off here, something I wanted to tell you. Okay, you had no school because it's about this. You had a guy on the other night. I can't remember his name. I'm sorry. Nice guy, but he was giving some really incredible accounts of going out to the woods looking for Sasquatch and seeing all this other stuff out there. And he said one or two people of his team said, screw it, they didn't want to do it anymore because they got these other things looking at him out there. And he showed a bunch of pictures. One of them looked like a gray, one of them looked like some type of a pan creature. And
David Pardue. David's in the chat right now. Hey David.
Okay.
David Pardue is one of my teammates.
I thought that was a great show. And the way he described that was really good. And I've spoken before how Earth has technically a twin. And the twin of Earth is not like us. We have beings that have consciousness with organism, but on the other Earth, our twin, we have beings that have consciousness and awareness without organism, thus they're inorganic being. But such beings land in our field of awareness all the time on that other Earth, and we can't perceive them. And I think what he was describing is seeing these different beings very clearly like that. Somebody mentioned grays on one of the pictures. I agree a little bit, but what he was showing, they look like just different creatures that were all different types that are beyond mythic. But I think they're creatures coming from other dimensions, other solar systems, all landing in our field of awareness. Some that are energy beings. We just perceive them as physicality. You know what I mean? That was a really good show, I thought.
Thank you. Well, okay, so that was David Pardue who showed. We had the video of the ET looking little person that was looking from behind the trees. We also had Alan Thomas on last weekend with Squat Zone. I don't believe we showed any pictures with him though, so that's why I don't think you're talking about Alan. I think you're talking about David Pardue. He has a lot of great photo evidence.
A couple days ago.
And videos. Yeah, that was David. And David, like I said, David's in the chat tonight. He lives up in North Carolina. And if you guys missed that show on Monday, please go back and watch it. It's got a picture of a little alien peeking out from behind a tree on the thumbnail, and it's called Carolina Cryptids. What I called that show.
I like that he started off kind of nebulous. There's the other out there, and he was not saying what it was exactly, and kind of funny. Then he got to it. So I thought that was good. It gave a little bit of suspense. You know what I mean? But it's nothing like you all that actually go out there and do the field work. It's quite.
Hey man, that's what it's all about. We have fun out there.
Not the Ice Cube neutrino
player.
Oh god, the guy that talks about that is such a freaking jerk. That's somebody else I never better meet. Not that guy there, but the guy initially who brought that up.
Ron. Not you.
No, not him. But the guy that kind of brought that up. That's so wanting to be famous in the disclosure. He's a jerk, man, to about everybody. You've had bad experiences with him. Somebody I better never meet at a conference or anything. Never. I'm serious, man. Some of these people, they hide behind these keyboards and they want the fame and everything. Let's see the good old knuckle sandwich. See if your trading in Antarctica involved physical defense. That's what I like to know, punk. Anyway, sorry, but not that guy there. But
not actually, you, Ron Riley.
But taking that guy to mention that here, not that guy here. That actually is interesting technology when you look at it. And I think it could cause seismic activity when you look at it that way. Interesting, Ice Cube neutrino layer device, is it called? Anyway.
Yeah. Hey,
that's one of those things you can look up,
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Let's see. I was gonna pull up this.
Bad man. Yes, Edgar, I agree. I know he agrees too. Sorry, I shouldn't have brought that up, but man, sometimes there's people in this community that that are no one will speak against them. You got these jerks and these liars, these delusionals, these crazies, and nobody will say nothing. And you meet these people in person, it's like they got this weak energy, but they're real big online. But you meet them in person, they can't do anything they say. They don't have any of the intelligence that they say or nothing. It's disappointing. And be careful, you might meet me. I might be like that. You ask me a question in person, and I start going like we did in the 80s. Doi, a doll! And then you'll be disappointed. That guy sucks, man.
Oh, no. So let's say you really feel, Barry. Oh, Amanda's so sweet. She says, I just woke up and saw my two favorite podcasters are live. Merry Christmas, Jessica and Barry, and everyone else here. Love from Wales, UK. Thank you, Amanda. That is so sweet. I'm glad you're here. I'm glad you woke up to us this morning. It's nighttime over here in Georgia. In the US.
In all fairness, I was just watching one of my famous older Doctor Who's. It was a Christmas special. UK, I believe, definitely.
Yeah. I love that. We've got a big viewing audience out of the UK actually. And so shout out to all our UK folks, everybody over in Europe too, and all over the country. We got New Zealanders watching, Australians watching. We got people from all over the place actually. So thank y'all for being here. This is always a fun time. And we always have a good time. Especially when Barry gets on a roll, right, Barry?
I wasn't doing that this time, was I? We stayed on the we did the data and stuff. It was pretty serious. I tried to get joking too much and stuff, Once or twice it got hard, but we did pretty good, I think.
We did pretty good. We did. It was awesome. And so I want to thank everybody for being here. I hope you guys all learned something tonight. I learned something myself. And I learned something. I always do. And very
cool people, man.
Barry, where can everybody find you? Tell everybody about your YouTube channel, your Patreon, and the services that you provide, if you'd like to.
HE double hockey sticks burning alive. No, just kidding. That's they asked Freddie Nightmare where he was. That's what he said he was. No, you can reach me at the email BarryLittleton13, BarryLittleton13 @gmail.com. You can also reach me on YouTube. I do quite a bit of stuff on there. Also on Facebook under Barry Littleton and YouTube. I'm still on Patreon, starting to try to do some few other things on there. They're the reason I still have been going forward. So thank them so much. They helped me get all those videos done. But Barry lives on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram are probably the main ones. And if you want to email me, BarryLittleton13 @gmail.com. Oh, one thing. I'm sorry. I apologize to a few people. During the holidays, I kind of stopped doing private sessions. I'm starting to reschedule now. I just did my first one yesterday. If you're somebody that emailed me, I didn't get back to you, please forgive me. I'm trying to hit everybody back. If you don't hear from me, send me another one. I'll get back to you. I'm rescheduling, and I apologize for the delay. But sometimes during the holidays, certain people are missed, and I get a little down. So good holiday, though. But you know how it is. Some people are gone. They just can't be replaced. And they kind of were the holidays. You know what I mean?
I know what you mean. A lot of our family is gone. A lot of my friends have passed on. They're still around us. They're still here. But it is holidays are different, as a little different. But
that person, the food isn't quite as good. It's all right.
Oh no, our food is delicious.
Yeah, I used to be scrumptious grub.
Oh, I know. I bet your mom cooked a lot of stuff too. And yeah, well, we always have a potluck for the most part, and we have multiple Christmas celebrations. We have a big family and stuff too. So it was a good time. All the kids, I think my son had the best Christmas ever, he said. And it's been pretty quiet in here for the past 2 days. He actually got a PS5. So this is his first gaming system ever. And so we got some headphones. Santa brought him that, and mom got him some headset. So it's totally quiet in here now.
So
Not
is
a
that
lot of
like
money.
when we got like Legend of Zelda, Nintendo?
It's like getting. I got my first Nintendo, and I
Yeah.
played Duck Hunt all the time and Excite Bike. Yeah, but I didn't have headphones.
Mike Punch Out was my game. Yeah.
Yeah,
I could never beat Tyson though. But I could get
right,
to
right.
him.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah.
I will say something. It's cool to see kids still doing that because one thing, I don't want to sound too 80s guy, but man, I miss arcades. The good old fashioned stand up arcades, man.
We've got one. We've
Really?
got one, a nice one. Yeah, not too far from where we live, and they even have a Stranger Things pinball machine. That's my favorite.
We've got one
Yeah.
here, and I went into it, and it's a bunch of family games. There's no like video games. It was lame as all get. I was completely disappointed. You know what I mean? It was not an arcade as I remember them. You go in there and maybe get a hot dog or something, but the different tons of video games, ones you
Mhm.
play, like Pac-Man or stuff like that. Different era, that kind of went away along with.
Yeah.
Do you remember cigarette machines in the hotels and also phone booths? And I
Oh
remember
God.
the milkman. I had a couple of neighbors. The milkman twice a week would drop off milk. You don't see that anymore at all.
Oh God.
That's all gone.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
You can't even find a
Yeah.
payphone anymore. Hell, find me a payphone.
Actually, you know what? At the arcade that we go to, they sell. This is horrible. I shouldn't say they sell candy cigarettes and stuff. And
Really?
my son was like, "Mom, can I get some of those candy cigarettes?"
I haven't seen those in years.
I don't know. Like that's one of those conundrums. You're like, well, no, as long as he knows they're not good for him, they're just sugar. But still, it's like I was shocked to see that they actually still sell those today. I
I
was
kind of
shocked.
thought they sucked. To me, it always felt like
Yeah.
it tastes like eating chalk. You know what I mean?
No,
I like
they're
now,
just
I like
sugar.
now laters a lot better.
Yeah.
But now,
Oh
since
my
we
God.
know now that there's loose, I can't eat Jolly Ranchers anymore for some reason. That messed me up. That name,
Oh my God.
what the connection is. But you say loose, I think Jolly Ranchers for some reason. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I remember those
Oh my God.
sorry ass everlasting gobstoppers. Those things sucked. Only reason you ever ate one of those is because it was on the Willy Wonka movie, and they didn't
Ew,
look
those are
like
so
jawbreakers.
gross.
They didn't look like jawbreakers on that movie.
Yes. Yes. You know what? That's true, Sovereign. Yes. Hunt Club is completely inspired by Duck Hunt. I'm just kidding. I've never even thought of that, but it could be.
Dang,
Yeah.
that's one of those
The
states
Hunt
that went
Club.
way over my head too. That whole deal right there. What are y'all talking about?
What, Duck Hunt?
Went over my head.
I don't know. Okay. All right. Well,
Oh,
let's
wait a
shut
minute.
the
That
show
was
down.
Nintendo, right?
Nintendo. Yeah, Nintendo. That was
Okay,
the
gotcha.
first Nintendo. Yeah. I was
I
just
like
talking to my dad
concept.
about it because I have like an old Nintendo. I've got Sega Genesis. Sorry, Sega
Really?
Genesis. We've got Nintendo. We have an old PlayStation. We have all that, but it doesn't connect. I can't get it to work on my television. So my friend Alicia told me the other day, she said, you got to go get an old television and hook it up to the old TV. Like go to the thrift store, go find an old television that it'll work on that TV. That's what she told me. I don't know. If anybody knows,
Wow.
y'all hit me up. 'Cause I've got all the consoles, whatever, but I just can't get them to work on the TV. So
Somewhere I've still got a VIC
yeah.
20 of mothballs. I think it might still work. Yeah, an old VIC 20. Yeah.
Candy cigarettes. Yeah, those candy cigarettes were. It's like a candy cigarette psyop. Okay, it was like to get everybody hooked and stuff. So
What's a
yeah,
candy you absolutely hate?
anything sour. I don't like sour stuff. I don't like any of that stuff. I don't like the smell of like candy these days. Like unless it's like naturally like chocolates or something, like fudge or something. I don't like any of it. Yeah. I don't like
I
any of it.
hated
I've never
cherry
been sweet.
mash. I thought those sucked.
Yeah.
Don't like Three Musketeers. I think those are a drag. And I
Sorry.
think
Sorry.
Milky Way sucks. Those three, I
Yeah.
think, are terrible candy bars. Yeah, especially
Yeah.
the cherry mash. Those things are horrible.
Yeah. Yeah. And actually Sovereign Big League Chew is something my kid likes to eat that too. Because it looks like you're chewing tobacco or something. I don't know. It's like what the baseball players use.
Sovereign Cosmic Wild Man, you try to get me in trouble. You know how many people got mad at me when I was laughing about the snuff and the Sasquatch, the snuff and Bigfoot, and I said maybe it was Big League Chew. So people got mad at me for that. Yeah, Barry Snuff is not Big League Chew. This is a joke.
Yeah.
I wish my friend would have told me though when I did some snuff, I would have done it once, that you weren't supposed to swallow it. Yeah. It's not Big League Chew. Oh God, I got so sick on that stuff. My God.
Yeah, it can make you sick for sure. All right. Well, you guys, everybody have a wonderful night tonight. Have a wonderful rest of your, what is today? Thursday. Have a great weekend. Please come back and see me on Saturday night. We're going to be going on the hunt at 10 p.m. Eastern. Please come back and see me. I promise you, we always have a good show every Saturday night. Well, it rarely disappoints. I don't think there's been a disappointing show ever. Not yet. So y'all come back and hang out. And Barry, you're doing lives as well. So keep us posted when you're going to go live on your channel.
Thanks to the last one. I mean, I have more technical difficulties on there than Matthew Broderick from War Games. I mean, I can hardly get on there, man.
I'm here to help, though. I've been helping, so we get you going.
Getting further. I'm doing better, though. I don't go an hour live where no one can hear me anymore. So I'm getting better.
Yeah, you're doing awesome. Troy said that Troy sent you an email and he said no rush for a response. Troy is my buddy from East Tennessee. Okay, so definitely hit him up whenever you get a chance. Okay. Awesome. All right. Well, everybody, you guys be safe out there. Have a wonderful night. I hope everybody had a wonderful holiday. I know now we got New Year's Eve coming up. What is that, next week? Sometime, but we have a few shows between now and then, so y'all come back and see me. We will be back on Saturday night, and I think I have a show scheduled tomorrow night with Dr. John Stamey on his channel too, so y'all come see me over there if you want to go talk about the polarizing flat earth theory. I'm going to talk to him about that tomorrow night. It's going to be a wild show. So Bigfoot and Company, I think, is the name of his show. But otherwise, Barry, we'll see you soon. Thank you again for the targets tonight. Amazing.
Thanks for doing it. Thank you to the audience. This was a really great time. I had a good time tonight, so thank you.
Thank you. Me too. And if you guys want to get access to all that data, go to my Patreon, the Cryptid Huntress on Patreon. And other than that, you guys have a great night. Happy holidays, and I'll see you guys on Saturday. All right. See you, Barry. Bye, y'all.